one. I think we're live now. Come on. Come on, YouTube. Oh, yeah, okay,
You
we're
would
live.
hope.
Yeah. All right. Oh, guys, welcome to the TubCast. Well, I'm exhausted today. I've got sweat pouring down my face. 10 minutes before the show, I was doing I've said this in the show several times now. I've just been busy for the past few weeks just with some IRL stuff, lots of physical labor, lots of moving stuff, working in the garden, working outside, working on the car. And today I finally finished up all of the IRL jobs. And I was doing that this
Congratulations.
afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. We bought a new couch. I assembled the new couch, and that was the final thing to do. And now I'm just like sweaty and gross, but it's all done. It's all done. Oh, and I finished it just in time for us to do this show.
Yep. This time you're only slightly late.
Only slightly late. So hi Lilith, how's it going?
It is going quite well. I have been, believe it or not, getting through to my older backlogs of video games that I've
No,
been wanting to play.
no one ever actually works through backlogs of video games. You know, that's
Yeah,
that's a myth.
but I'm defying that that myth. I'm actually working through my backlogs. I am playing through the Uncharted remastered collection, as well as 4, as well as I'm also playing. I've recently just finished Infamous First Light, the
You,
standalone game after the first one on the PS4.
oh yeah, these are something like PS3 games almost.
No, this is PS4.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yes, it's been working through the PS4 era stuff. Although I do have some PS3 era stuff I want to work through as well. Just like if you know anything about PlayStation stuff, once you've collected all the other trophies in the game, you get like the platinum trophies. That just showcase that you've collected all the stuff in the main game.
Oh, are you a trophy collector?
Yes, I am.
Oh man,
I am
maybe I'm just
collect quite a few.
maybe I'm just like really old fashioned, but I remember being on 4chan's V board when they first introduced achievements and trophies and things like this. And everyone on V was like raging at how casual video games were becoming. If only they knew.
Yeah.
If only they knew.
Yes. The thing is, trophies and achievements can be really hardcore.
Mm.
But yes, the trophy collector is not the right one. The right term, the proper term is I believe trophy hunter.
Trophy hunter.
Puts on nerd glasses. Oh, the misery.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
But yes.
When you say couch, I'm reminded that you're Canadian. Why? Do Americans not say couch? Do Americans say Chesterfield or something?
No, Americans say couch.
Yeah, couch. Do I pronounce it weirdly?
Couch or a sofa.
Oh, a sofa. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. We don't really use sofa here.
Oh. You don't?
No,
That's weird.
no. Some old people
There's
do, but it's just couch here, yeah.
there's actually like a store in America called the Sofa King.
Yes, I had a shirt in high school. This is Sofa King because of the
Yes,
swear. Yes,
it, it,
yes.
yes, it's not just good. It's so fucking good.
I got in trouble for that in high school,
You did.
but I remember having that shirt. Oh, so chat, how's it going? I'm like trying to turn my brain
Well,
back on. I'm like, and also get all the kinks out of all my muscles and Jesus. Yeah, with new couch comes a new era for my gaming channel, and because it's the couch used on that, and it's gonna be pretty neat, I think, because we finally got a couch that actually fits the camera. It's like, oh, Jesus. Everyone's screeching about the Minecraft server. It's coming back. It's coming back. Jesus, you don't gotta say it every single time I appear in public. Mm. Oh, you just mowed some grass. I also worked in the garden earlier. The garden's doing well. The spinach all died between now and last time I streamed, guys. I know you were asking about that. The spinach is dead, so I planted Swiss chard instead. When do leftists start attacking churches? They already have. At least in Canada, they did. Did you hear about that controversy here, Lilith?
I haven't been caught up on it. What's been going on?
This is like a year ago. There was um, the whole mass grave thing that turned out to be a hoax.
Oh,
But
did it turn out to be a
yeah, it
hoax?
turned out they didn't find any bodies there. What it actually was, it was a cemetery that was overgrown because no one had been buried there in over 100 years.
Huh.
So, but people were like, it's a dump site, a mass grave, and then like, um, people started like burning down churches in Canada. It's like, come on, guys, Jesus.
Yeah, as an American, I don't know too much about that, but that's that's not good at all. You know,
Yeah.
as a as a response,
What is this bogossoid thing all about? That's what we're going to be mainly covering today on the TubCast because we had a few ideas, but a few of them, for example, we considered talking about the January 6th um, hearings, but those are still ongoing. And honestly, I tried to watch Adam and Sitch do it on their show on Sunday, and I love Adam and Sitch, but man, it was tough to watch at times because it's like just very legal to watch and react to it. So you're just like waiting for something interesting to pop up.
yeah, from what I've seen, the January 6th thing is quite a bit slow.
Yeah, yeah.
It, it at the risk of sounding
Like a boomer.
like layman, like oftentimes it's just boring.
um,
But hey, I mean, I suppose it's important stuff,
mhm.
and I mean, there's interesting stuff coming out from it. Like, for example, the Stephen Colbert's
Oh yeah,
back
his film crew.
film crew getting arrested, being caught up in it, having just a bit of a goof from being quoted as saying,
And the other thing,
I forgot what it was said. Let me look it up. Like,
well,
Colbert defends staffers after Capitol arrest, hijinks with intent to goof.
yeah, see, yeah, that's pretty funny, and I get it, but he's the same people that were screeching about January 6th itself, and it's like, all right, dude, like your guys also ended up being there illegally, so calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else though. The another topic you talked about possibly doing was uh, uh
Well, the big thing that happened, Roe v. Wade actually being overturned,
yeah, and the thing about that is like the discussion we had on the
as well
Tubcast.
as a few other stuff. I think they did one good thing with, well, in my mind, with upholding the concealed carry stuff, where it's
Yeah,
like where they did a thing where it's like might issue is unconstitutional, where they make it so every state has to be a shall issue state, and
yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah.
I think you shouldn't have to justify to the government why you need to protect yourself before being allowed to exercise your rights.
hmm
I actually agree with that. I saw a lot of lefties complain about that, but I all for Second Amendments, and I agree with that.
hmm
But there's a few other stuff that came out,
Yeah,
like
some other things I want to push in the wake of Roe v. Wade because even though the majority opinion on the court regarding the repealing of Roe v. Wade is that it wouldn't apply to other rulings because of differences in how that they were reasoned.
well,
Um,
that's what Alito said in his
yeah, yeah,
initial leaked opinion
Yeah, yeah.
or
And I think that was still in the actual final opinion as well. But
yes.
when Clarence Thomas had the opportunity to write his, he's like, nope, we can go after all of them now. I'm not sure if that's actually a widespread opinion within the court, or if
Yeah,
it's just him. We'll
he
have to
wanted
see.
to go after he wanted to go to after the gay marriage stuff. He wanted to go after even the sodomy law shit.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was like oof.
Yeah. I
And
think
I wonder what's next. Like the race mixing stuff. I mean, he is married to a white woman, so
maybe not. Maybe he won't go that far. But no,
maybe he won't go that far. But what about his friends? Hmm?
so I've been looking into the situation on that, and I'll probably do a main video on it as well. But basically, like, the court just can't wave a magic wand and make things legal or illegal. They have to be presented with a case first, a case that actually touches on the relevant law. So even if the court, even if individuals on the court have the opinion that they should be overturning gay marriage, if no one files a court case against gay marriage, the courts can't do it. So that's one thing. Secondly, it does not seem like it has, like, the gay marriage stuff. It rests more firmly on the equal protections clause of the Constitution than Roe v. Wade did, because there's you can't make an equal protections argument with Roe v. Wade, because abortion is inherently not an equal thing. Like, at least with gay marriage, everyone can get gay married, but not everyone can have abortions. So there's no equal protections clause there. That's my layman understanding of it. So I think if they went for gay marriage, they would get more heavy pushback from some of the center right people on the court. But who knows? Things are all up in the air right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if they want to do it, they'll find a reason to.
Maybe. If I had one wish, it would be 8 clones of Thomas to be nominated to the Supreme Court. Yeah. Well, I did a video yesterday that was mostly focused on, like, the memes. Like Clarence Thomas, like, getting revenge on Joe Biden for his racism from, like, 50 years ago, shit like that. There's been some pretty funny memes coming out of all this stuff. Despite, like, how everyone is losing their mind currently, there's some pretty funny memes coming out of it. I can appreciate a funny meme even in the face of something I don't like happening.
Well, it's easy for you to say. It doesn't exactly affect you.
I mean, true, but you know what? Most of the people protesting, it doesn't affect them either. They're protesting in New York. They're protesting in California. These are places that won't lose access to abortion.
Yeah, but they couldn't know people, and just because you don't like affect you personally, it doesn't mean you can't lament the fact that, for example, more illegal abortions will be performed now,
I mean, yeah, but,
and
like, I
like
know
more
people
people will
too.
probably die for it.
I know people too that live in, like, flyover states. It's the same thing with me. I can separate, like, a bad situation from humor about it. I think it's just my personality.
I suppose. But yes, what is this we're gonna react to today, Dev?
Yeah, because we're not talking about any of that stuff. That's going to be a different videos, different topics for different times. Today we're doing something else. We decided to do something that wasn't going to take us like 8 fucking hours to do. That's, like, really the main thing. Um,
Yeah,
Actually, before we even get started, there's like 3 preliminary super chats. So thanks, guys. Let's see what's going on. Oh, actually, also, Lilith, next week we might need to do more of a daytime show. So you know how you approached me this morning and you were like, "Want to do it now?" And I was like, "Can we do it in 4 hours?" And then 4 hours turned into like 6 hours. um, Next week we'll probably have to actually do it, like, in the morning.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it seems like you have.
Just get it.
Sorry.
Just do a early morning stream with coffees
Yes.
and
Yeah.
donuts.
And donuts. Yeah, yeah, because it seems, if you don't mind, it seems like that you have a block of time in the middle of the day when you can't exactly do it, Because you had to wait a couple hours before we could start this one. Are you just like busy in the afternoon, I guess?
Oh no, not really. Today was just I was just getting some stuff done.
Oh, you were getting high.
No,
Okay. But
I
yeah.
wish.
But you know what I mean though. Like, I think it's because of this was a problem last week as well. The schedule is being shifted around at Naomi's workplace for the holiday, and so she has to take shifts that aren't exactly ideal to fill other people's positions because they're not going to be around, and it's the whole thing. So for the week before and the week after, she has a kind of a wonky schedule. So we might need to do a more morning show, but I don't mind doing that either. You know what? I actually kind of enjoy morning shows. You know what? If you wanted, we could make that a consistent thing. Just morning, make the Tubcast like a day show. We could do that.
Depends on what's better. Well, yes.
Um,
Um,
right, the super
what's the
chats.
deal today?
Yes. Well, hold on, super chats. Yeah. You know what? Here, remind me after we're done, and we'll talk about the scheduling. Okay. Let's do super chats right now first. So, Thy Raven rings for $5. The treatment of Clarence Thomas by white woman leftists brings your escaping the Democratic plantation video to mind. Yeah, did you see that shit?
I have seen that. That was. I've been seeing more than a fair share of people using the hard R.
You're just like you're scrolling on Twitter and seeing like the fucking nonsense that's happening right now.
It's mostly people reacting to it, but it's just like there's just like accounts that don't seem like trolls. I mean, I've
Yeah.
only seen like one of them that seemed like legit so far, but like maybe I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's people, just liberals, supposedly like using the hard R on Clarence Thomas, and I'm
Yep.
just like, oof. I don't
Hmm.
think that's okay.
That's a pretty big oof.
I mean, you can have objections about his choices, obviously. But like the N word,
Now, see, here's the thing.
is that really what you want to go with?
I mean, for in terms of just pure free speech, yes. I'm not gonna say you can't do it. And also, some people like if their thing is just edgy jokes, fine, fine. Drop all the n bombs you want. But like, these are people. Like, it's very hypocritical coming out of these people. Is the point?
Yeah. I mean, it is one thing if it's a fashy boy, 1488 saying it, but at least then they're honest about the racism.
Yeah, yeah. So this is something that I think I might craft into a video as well. I know when you and I, and actually when Frida and I, we were talking privately about the Roe v. Wade stuff. The point that I was making is that one of the reasons Roe v. Wade fell apart is because it wasn't argued properly. And some people have said, well, hey, it doesn't matter if it's not argued properly. We want abortion rights, and it's like, yeah, fair enough. Um, I can understand that point of view, but you still need to focus on the process, not just the outcome. And sometimes doing things right is just as important as doing the right thing. And I think for reasons that we're seeing right now, because we have all these things that are good things improperly done that are falling apart. And I think part of
Well,
that,
what the Democrats should have done was they should have codified it into law when they
yes,
had the supermajority.
yes, they should have. However, the big problem though is that there are so many people. I think one of the reasons why you need to do things properly, not just do the right thing, is because when you don't, and I'll have a video exploring this idea in the near future. When you don't, you get those left-leaning people who are being overly racist, while in the same breath, out the other side of their mouth, they're talking about how anti-racist they are and how being racist is like the worst fucking possible sin, and yet they're here being racist, and it's because to them the rhetoric is more important than the action because they're more about getting the proper outcome, which is more about getting appearances than actually being concrete in what you do and following a protocol. So, for example, one great example of this is the moderator from r/anti work who turned out to be like a sexual assaulter. And this person wrote a big long Facebook post where half of it is talking about all their social justice work and how they truly, this is not who they truly are, and how much it means to them that there's attention brought to sexual assault victims, and all the stuff that you would expect a good person to say, and yet this person did the bad action. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a disconnect between theory and reality here, what people say and what people do. And I think that comes down, or at least in the political realm, that plays out in completely abandoning principles in the name of reaching a good end. But meanwhile, when you abandon the principles, that comes back to bite you in the ass later, like we're seeing now. So that's going to be a video, and I think it might actually be a decent video.
Oh, well, we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah. $10 from Lady Columbia. Thank you. Dev. Carl put out an essay on the 5 false assumptions of liberalism. Do you think a modified liberalism or similar philosophy will arise? Carl is trying to figure out more stuff, but he is a sad Wojak now. So yeah, I got a preview of Carl's 5 false assumptions of liberalism. I got a preview of that, and he's generally correct. I haven't seen the actual full article yet, but I know what his criticisms are. I have to think about it. I don't quite know what to say on that just yet. But I do think that the liberal mythology is fundamentally false. And I don't mean like liberal as in left, I mean like liberalism, the political philosophy of liberalism. It makes assumptions that seem to be not historically accurate. This idea that humans in prehistory were individuals who would only come together to engage in voluntary exchange. Now, people lived in tribes, so clearly that wasn't the case. The liberal assumption that all men are created equal clearly seems to be false. Some people are smarter, some people are dumber, some people are taller, shorter. There are inborn differences in humans. People are not actually created equal. So there are good faith criticisms to make about liberalism, but that doesn't necessarily mean that liberalism is itself a flawed ideology. I might be able to explore some of this as well. But this is like political philosophy stuff, though. It's not like about governments,
Mm.
The reason that he called equality of opportunity communism is because in order to actually have pure equality of opportunity, you would have to use state force to equalize basically everything. Because if my parents are a bit more well off because maybe they worked harder and they send me to a better school, now the poor kid doesn't have the same equality of opportunity as me, so either he has to be raised up or I have to be brought down. So I understand what his point of view, but at this point, when Sargon says communism, he just means state intervention, which I don't agree with that either. So, let's see, what's the next?
Communism is when the state does stuff.
It's funny because Richard Wolff actually ended up saying that in his debate with Destiny. Even though he's made a career about making fun of that idea, he actually said it, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, what else do we got? Silver Camaro, thank you. Dear Rightoids, if Lilith isn't a real woman, then how come she's useless? Jesus.
Okay.
Do you want to reply to that?
Not as useless as your dick.
Oh. Also, Shu is actually an evil person. Well, thanks for the super chat. Satoshi for 20 kroner. Masqueraves. I don't know what you mean by that, but thank you. Argel for $2. Fat. Yeah, I know. I was late. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being late. I think that's all the supers right now. All right, guys. Thanks for all the support.
Thanks for the money.
Thanks for the money. Okay. So, let's get on to today's topic. Okay. So, do you know who Peter Boghossian is?
No idea. This is the first time I am being introduced to this person.
Okay. So, he went to Portland State University. He got his PhD in contemporary philosophy, and he is a lesser known figure among the center right leaning academics who have been speaking out at the transformation of universities into these kind of strange safe space slash radicalization zones. And we've been seeing that, I think, since before Trump took office. We probably saw that like back during the Gamergate era when people were really starting to notice that this was going on. So you had like Jordan Peterson is the big obvious one, right? He's the big name of doing this sort of thing, and Peter
Famous.
Boghossian is kind of cut from the same cloth as him, but he's not nearly as well known.
I see.
Yep.
So is he like a professor?
He's a professor, yes, professor of philosophy.
All right.
Silver Camaro for $2. Wrong, Lilith. I have no PP. Oh.
Face then. Hey, then that means. Hey, then that means I wasn't incorrect.
Okay. If you wanted to skim his Wikipedia, you can find out some basic ideas about this guy. His interests are critical thinking, philosophy of education, and moral reasoning. He is, even though he's an atheist, he is kind of center right. He would be part of the left, say, during the internet's edgy atheist days when they were going up against like Jack Chick comics and stuff, you know, like the 2009, 2011, that era of the internet, where like the bleeding edge of everything was atheism. Then those people either became conservatives or they became socialists. And he's more like, even though he's an atheist, he's not a Christian. He's still on the right because he opposes like some of the kind of crazy woke stuff happening in universities right now.
I see. So he's like one of those edgy atheist figures that never became famous.
Well, like as an edgy atheist, either you like you go
or he would be during that time.
yeah, like either you go the way of like amazing atheist and you start shoving bananas up your ass and then you become a socialist online who like destroys himself, or you kind of go more like the Sargon route, because Sargon's still an atheist but he became a conservative. And he said the main reason he became a conservative is because he has kids and he wants his kids to grow up in like a stable society, because you know even though it might be fun to like explore some of the crazier ideas when you're in your 20s and you're kind of getting out there for the first time, for young children you need something more stable than that. And I can understand that. I can understand his point of view.
Okay.
Boghossian describes himself as a classical liberal. He's never voted for a Republican, but he also doesn't like the Democrats.
Oh, he's like a conservative.
Yeah. Well, classical liberals and conservatives, they're pretty close, but they're not quite the same thing. Conservatives place more value on like social continuity, but classical liberals don't. Classical liberals are more market oriented. But they do like a classical liberal is closer to a conservative than they are to a socialist or something, right? Or to a fascist, you know, like they're related ideas. They're like two sides of the same coin. Now, you probably have heard of this because this is the first time he went viral. I heard of the event. I didn't know it was him though. In 2017, Boghossian, along with James Lindsay, who is very well known nowadays.
Oh no.
Yeah, that guy. They published a paper titled "The Conceptual Penis as a Social Construct." And they wrote the paper in an intentionally absurd way to imitate the style of post-structuralist gender theory. And the penis should not be seen as an anatomical organ, but as a social construct, isomorphic to performative toxic masculinity. So they got this paper published because they wrote it in the style of like a radical leftist, and they got it published, even though it was complete bullshit. And the reason they did this is because they wanted to show how intellectually bankrupt the Academy had become. And so this went viral back in 2017. I remember it happening. I don't remember it being him or James Lindsay.
don't remember that either.
Oh, you don't remember this
There's
happening?
something similar happening, but I don't know if it's even that one. I heard no, actually I heard a different case. I heard somebody was publishing something from Mein Kampf and but rewrote everything to make it sound woke
That
and
was
it
him,
got
yeah. Yeah,
published.
that's this.
Was it him?
Yep. He did that, yeah.
Was it the Mein Kampf one?
Yep.
I see.
Let's see. Yeah.
Was it?
he did a paper called "Our Struggle is My Struggle," and he put a bunch of stuff from Mein Kampf in it. Yeah, and he just changed out like the Jews with white men or something. You know.
I see. If it was him, then
Yeah.
I see that was kind of funny.
Yeah. So that's what he was known for in 2017 and 2018. But to be honest, I didn't know who he was. I knew about the troll because it's a pretty funny troll, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, I didn't know it was him either, or who it was.
Mm-hmm. So what he's been doing recently is he started a series called Street Epistemology. All right. You know what epistemology is? I assume.
It's like bringing like lectures out in real life. I
No,
believe, right?
no. Sorry.
No.
No, epistemology is a theory of knowledge. So, what does it mean to know something? What is actual proof? You know,
Okay.
how do you know a thing? Um, you know, how is it possible to prove something is actually what it is? You know, and can you truly know something, or is it all just faith? You know, because all of your all of your proof could be just constructed. So like, how likely is it that you actually know something? You know.
Might have gotten confused with something else then, but yeah.
Mm. So it's basically a theory of knowledge. So street epistemology is a series that he makes on the internet where
Okay.
he goes to various places and he starts talking to people and he tries to get them to think about what they know and why they think they know it. Which is actually pretty important. Like, there are so many things that we just kind of take for granted that, oh yeah, that's true, right? Like, I've never been to Africa, but surely it's there. I believe it's there. But like, all the evidence that I've seen could be faked, right? It's possible, but it's very unlikely. So like, what does it mean to know something? He basically challenges he challenges belief on that level. Like, well, what evidence do you have that this thought of yours is actually true? And then they kind of go through it. It's like, oh, maybe that is true, or maybe it's not true, right? Um, so this is
All
his
right.
thing, street epistemology, and it's very similar to, if I could just pull this up here really quickly. Um, Thanks for all of the super chats, guys. I'll read them in a second. Okay, if I were to pull this up real quick. Okay, so we all know about Steven Crowder's legendary series "Change My Mind," where he goes out to various campuses. He sets up his table. He invites random passerby to come and talk to him on whatever the topic is. It's become a meme. There's an exploitable image of like the sign has changed or whatever you want it to say, and this type of content has kind of become like Crowder's bread and butter. Even though he does it less nowadays, but this is his sort of thing. And actually, I found this out recently. Steven Crowder won't actually publicly tell where he's going to be, so that like other YouTubers can't show up and properly debate him at these things. He only wants students to talk to him because he wants to take like a 19-year-old, dumb fuck gender studies student, and just like completely fucking destroy them. But he doesn't want to actually like have a real debate with whoever it is. You know.
Yeah, you don't want people can talk back.
Yeah. But Steven Crowder kind of started this type of content. Sargon did a very similar type of content as well. During Sargon's here he is with David Charette. During Sargon's run for UKIP, he did a very similar thing to try and like drum up support and drum up eyes on his campaign. However, Sargon actually told everyone where he was going to be. So that's why David Charette showed up, for example. That's why people showed up to actually come and talk to him. Um, because unlike Crowder, I guess Sargon isn't afraid to speak to people and even occasionally be proven wrong or made a fool of, because that's what happens when you debate sometimes. Um, mm. But this kind of content, going around to places and talking to regular people who just so happen to show up, that is a very, I'm not going to say novel, because obviously these people are doing it. They've been doing it for years. But it's an interesting type of content that I don't think we see enough of. Nowadays, everyone just wants to go off into their own echo chambers. They don't want to debate anymore. They don't want to. Like, I understand if you can't debate, or like if you have anxiety or something, fair enough. But like, no one wants to have their ideas challenged anymore. They block people out on a whim. They like it. Stuff like this needs to happen more, in my opinion. Yes, it is Spinosaurus. Yeah, Sharat is Spinosaurus. It's the same person. He just changed his name. But okay. So street epistemology, despite being new, it's cut from the same cloth of this type of content. And one of his videos recently went viral, and that's the one that we are going to watch. Confrontation at Portland State University. Did I harm students by asking this question? And a lot of his videos, they've gotten some traction. He has subs about half the amount that I do, so he still gets some eyes on his videos. But like, this one's at like 1 million views. Like, this one blew the fuck up. And it's very interesting. We're going to enjoy watching this video, I think. Or at least I am. I don't know about you. At least I am. Because it's interesting to see how we're looping back around. Because this could have been shot in 2015, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. The logic that's used, the way people engage with him, it feels like Jordan Peterson in 2015 talking to protesters or something. It's like, oh Jesus, we're back at this point. You know what I mean? Here, let me just. Yo, I'm drunk. How are you, Devin Lilith?
Oh.
Hey, I am wrong.
Oh,
Thanks.
drunk.
Hello, drunk. Let's see here. $5 from.
Or at least I'm doing okay.
$5 from Noah Yanez. Hey, Dev, if Quebec is still trying to secede, why don't they try joining New Hampshire? Quebec's not going to secede. The secession is low popularity in Quebec right now. Colombia for $20. Thank you. I think I am starting to become critical of both the family-oriented right, as for the past 100 years, the parents giving up their responsibility to the state so the state will raise their kids. They kind of don't deserve their families. Jesus. I don't know if I feel like that, dude. But thank you for the donation, though.
Interesting perspective. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but like.
Yeah. Let's see. Street epistemology came from Peter's book, A Manual for Creating Atheists. Yeah. What are y'all's favorite Black Sabbath album? I don't listen to Black Sabbath. Sorry for wasting $2 on talking to me about Black Sabbath, but I don't listen to them. I'm sorry, dude. How about you? Do you listen to Black Sabbath?
Nah, I mean, I'm probably free to listen to it, but like.
So before we start the video, what is your engagement with this type of content? Or if any?
I've seen some like change my mind stuff, and I've seen like some cringe compilations of like for example, Caitlin Bennett tries to do it, but she does it really badly.
That's right, she does it fucking awfully. Didn't we do like a video on that back in the day where she like copy struck you for no fucking reason?
Yeah, I believe so. It was like she was like interviewing a bunch of people going, what if there were tampons in a men's room? Wouldn't that be weird? And then students were like, okay, I don't care. Why do you care if there is? But wouldn't that be weird? Men can have periods. And I was just like, everybody just made fun of her because
because she shat her pants at a party in college.
Yeah, well, she did that. She never. She was like basically confronted with that. She wouldn't say no that she didn't. And there were pictures, so
There were pictures of her lying in the hallway with shit on her butt. I remember that. Damn.
it's not just shit. It's a log.
Oh god. All right. I haven't heard of her doing anything like noteworthy since then. So she must have just faded out of the. What is she doing right now? Hold on, before we start this, Liberty Hangouts. What is she doing? Okay, let's see. With 600 and well, she got pregnant, had a kid. She still has some of the pregnancy weight. That's unfortunate. Um, with 621,000 subs, she gets views about on par with mine. Oops.
Let's see.
It seems like she's going through a Lauren Southern arc, where she like took time off from the internet. She had a kid. She's focusing on her family. You know. It seems like she's doing that right
Hmm.
now. So all right.
Okay. But yes, the content wise,
Yes.
it's this is that type of content, right?
Yes, it is. Like basically moments in this you would expect to see in a SJW owned compilation with like Big Red's face in the thumbnail or something, just screaming at someone. That's this type of content here. So I appreciate the super chats, guys, but I'm gonna read one more because only one more came in, and then we're gonna start the video and not read super chats for a while. Okay.
Yes, keep them coming though. Keep giving us money.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Silver Camaro for $5. The reason Crowder doesn't want to debate YouTubers is because leftists don't want an honest debate. With students, he actually has some good conversations. I don't entirely agree. After seeing the Sam Cedar debacle and how he reacted to that, I don't entirely agree. Because
Yeah,
yes,
I think he's just afraid, kind of.
like they
Because
did.
like even with Sam Cedar, I think he could have had a conversation.
Mhm. They they did jump him, and that was inappropriate. But
Mm-hmm.
Crowder didn't argue his case on the grounds of inappropriateness. He should have said, "Listen, what are you doing here? I didn't agree to this. I agreed to talk to Ethan. I'm leaving," and then just cut out. But he turned it into a shit show because he knew what was happening, and he should have been. If he had been the better man, it would have looked better for him. I think. If he had just said, "This is inappropriate. I'm leaving," and then left. Okay. God damn it. A $10 from Laser Kid. Thank you guys. Thank you. Okay, we'll read this one and then we'll start. Hey, Deb, I just want to thank you. I'm a moderate right winger growing up in California. Growing up in California convinced me I was far right for a while. Seeing someone on the moderate left has helped me broaden my views. I don't view myself as on the moderate left, and in fact, there's lots of leftists who view me as a right winger. So, man, my audience calls me like a leftist communist, and the bread tubers call me a fucking fascist. So, I'm pretty sure I'm just in the center. I'm just right in the center. Hold on.
For
Come
some
on.
reason, your audience seems to be more on the right than you are, for the most part.
They are, and it's because I don't censor them. And leftists, they generally demand that the spaces they inhabit be focused on leftism and only allow in leftism. Meanwhile, right wingers, unless you go to the extreme right, they don't seem to care. They'll hang out with whoever.
Hmm.
Um. Oh come on, that Sam Cedar thing was BS. And oh God, God, chat. We had this argument last week over the gun thing. You guys don't. I love you, chat, but you don't seem to understand nuance. Yes, obviously Ethan and Sam Cedar were in the wrong because they violated the terms of the engagement. Obviously. But within that framework, there were things that Crowder could have done to make it better on him, and he didn't do that. That's what I'm saying, okay? Okay? Please don't rage out and soy out again. We had a fight, me and my chat, over guns, Lilith, that you missed.
Over guns?
Over guns, yeah.
Were you having presenting your Canadian opinions, and they weren't happy
No,
about it?
no. My view is generally that. So, for example, people on the left will say, "Hey, listen, guns are bad. Gun access is bad because more people get killed. And people on the right will say, no, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. And it's my opinion that they probably do. They probably do. More people probably do get killed because of gun proliferation. But that is a worthy trade-off if it means that you get to have your guns. I'll just bite the bullet on that. I'll be like, yeah, okay. So even if it's the case that more people get killed, fine. It sucks, but having guns is more important. And the chat was like losing their mind at me, and I was like, all right, guys. This is
Why were they losing their minds at you?
They thought it was an anti-gun take, and it's not.
I see. I don't see how that's an anti-gun take. I mean, unless you don't think more people would get killed, which there is an argument to be made from that. There, you could make the argument that more people could be protected.
Yes, that happens too. Yeah. Even as more people get shot, more people also get protected because there's more good guys with guns. So yeah, like there's a nuanced argument here, but the internet doesn't like nuance. Anyway, wait, babies should come out of the womb with an AK-47, but then you won't be able to abort them because they'll have self-defense. They'll just shoot the abortion doctor. Okay. We're doing this. Ready for the video? You can hear it, right? Do I have the audio on? Yes, I do. Ready? As always, you can pause whenever you like, whenever you want to comment on something. So here we go. Also, chat, let me know if it sounds good for you.
What would it take for you to move, not all the way over there, just one line?
I guess if they told me how many genders specifically there were, I can't think of anything that would change my opinion, I guess. But...
Okay, before we get to the interruption here, what he's doing is he has a thought experiment where he'll have like a sign that has a question, and this one is, do you believe there's two genders or something? And then he'll have spaces on the ground where you can like stand. So it'll be like neutral, somewhat agree, radically agree, disagree, radically disagree. And you can stand where you would put yourself. And then he will talk to you about your position and be like, okay, well, what will it take? What will it take for you to move to this space if someone else was talking to you about this? And like, it's a way of judging how strongly you feel about something. So that's what he was doing. It's a bit quiet. Okay, hold on. I'll turn it up for you guys. And here, Lilith, can you try talking again?
Oh.
Yeah, I'll play the first few seconds. Again, how does this sound, guys?
What would it take for you to move, not all the way over there,
this?
just one line?
I guess if they told me how many genders specifically there were.
How did that sound? And Lilith, can you talk again, please?
Okay, I'm talking.
That's pretty even there. Loud and clear. All right, let's go. Let's watch. Because he gets interrupted by some weirdos.
I can't think of anything that would change my opinion, I guess. But
you got some friends.
Oh, you're giving me the finger? Hi. I'm standing in front of the social work building. I'm harming individuals by asking that question.
Okay.
Well, you want to come down and have a conversation about it? Why do you want to come down and have a conversation? Oh.
Okay. So, firstly, they're like, they reject the idea of having a conversation, and which is all right. They just expect that other people will a priori agree with them. It's like, you're harming people by asking a question. It's like, am I? Yes. What's wrong with you? How come you don't understand that? It's like, you want to talk about it? No, that's just the truth. Like, they talk about it like it's a scientific truth. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't see harming people from asking a question. That seems to be a bit much, you know?
Yeah, I don't see just simply asking a question could be harmful, but I guess it depends on the question.
Well, the question is...
I mean, if the question is like, do you believe the Holocaust happened, and then you start putting all sorts of misinformation out there, it's just... That could be...
Yes.
Could be argued a case.
Yes, and it was good. Obviously, I'm
Goof
joking.
Step.
But yeah, like, I don't. If you're just like having an honest inquiry, I don't think that there's harm in that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We're all gonna come down and disrupt you. Let's see the disruption.
Okay, so what would it take for you to move to the strongly agree?
In this man's class, after a long, controversial 10 weeks of lectures in this giant auditorium on the final day, he posed a question to the students. He says, if anybody has disagreed with anything I've said over the last 10 weeks, come down and sit in this chair in a spotlight in the middle of the auditorium. Here's a platform. Tell me to my face. Which I'm glad. I was the only one who walked down and you gave me an A.
I'll go for it.
Excuse me. Hi, I'm so curious about what's happening out here.
Here we go.
Oh, it's a critical thinking game where we take a look at claims and you
Okay.
step on a line you want to play.
Well,
You want to watch the game played?
we were watching from up there actually because we happened to see the sign from up in the School of Social Work, which is on the 6th floor, and some of our trans students saw the statement. There are only 2 genders.
Well, thanks for coming down to talk.
Right. So, the statement: agree or disagree. There's only 2 genders, and they're not actually playing the game. They're just going to disrupt even the consideration of the question. There are only 2 genders. So that's what's happening here. So, Lilith, it's time for the Lilith hot seat. Lilith, how many genders are there? Dun 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 dun.
At least 3, as the Joe Biden would say.
At least 3. What's the third one?
Well, use your imagination.
Oh, okay. All right.
But there are at least 3.
I'm gonna go the Islamic route. There is 1 gender. Women are property. One thing I think we should impress upon the audience here is that saying there are 2 genders is not necessarily anti-trans. The overwhelming majority of trans people just want to be the other gender. They're not inhabiting a third space. So it's like you can be very supportive of trans stuff and still believe that there's only 2 genders. I just want.
Well, it would invalidate people who don't identify strongly as one or the other.
Well, sure, but a 0 isn't a third gender. Like a lack of a position isn't necessarily a third position. You know.
Well, you would have to ask them.
No, I wouldn't. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna come forward with this hard stance, as that like the people who actually legitimately are taking on helicopter gender, attack helicopter gender, the fucking like Demon Mama, for example. No, I'm going to just completely disregard those peoples and their opinion. I think that's ridiculous. Helicopter gender began as a right-wing meme that the left ultimately embraced and said, why can't you be helicopter gender? Why can't you be deer gender? And it's like, because those aren't fucking genders. They're not genders. I cannot. It's like, it blows my mind that this is where we are.
Well, I think there's a bit of a difference between saying there are only 2 genders and saying you have to accept helicopter Minecraft gender.
Minecraft
I think
gender?
I think there could be like something a little more reasonable middle ground for that.
So you could have
Personally,
you could have like hypothetically you could have like 4 possible positions. You could have man, you could have woman, you could probably have non-binary, which means neither, and you could probably have something that is a mixture of both, where you feel like you might be in the middle somewhere. You know, those seem to be 4 reasonable positions, but that's like the positions are A, B, like 0, and then A, B. It's still like a mixture of 2 positions, just in different combinations. If that make any sense?
yeah, but there's still like the neither. There's still like in between or something else entirely.
Yeah, well, non-binary seems to be neither, right?
I think it's either neither or something in between.
Yeah.
Depends on them.
Yeah. That's what I just said. But like, there's not like some kind of like other thing out there that's like another. Okay, what was the term used in Star Trek? Hold on. Star Trek, three sex species. There was a three sex species in the Viseans. Right. So they had a third gender. They were called cogenitors. They had men, women, cogenitors. There are no cogenitors in humans. There's no conception of a third gender. There seems to be male, female, or like, since we're talking gender here, not sex, man, woman, neither, both. That seems to be correct.
All right.
Yeah, I think. I'm trying to like have the most open-minded possible position that still seems like rational, and that's pretty much where my brain leaves me. Is man, woman, neither, both. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. So anyway, yeah, the question is, are there two genders? Or there are only two genders or something like that, and these people are taking offense to it. Let's see.
It was pretty activating and upsetting not knowing the context. We thought it was sort of
wait,
a
hold on.
statement that was being made.
Yeah, activating. Okay. I haven't heard this before this video. I know that you spend some time in lefty spaces too. Activating, is that, do they use activating instead of triggering now?
Not as far as I know. I have never heard anybody say that.
Activate.
My almonds are activated right now.
My almond. Activating. Okay, I gotta look this up. Activating, triggering. Is it? Yeah. Okay. So, right. Triggering is on its way out. That's becoming bigoted language now, and it's being replaced with activating. Because triggering is too triggering. Well, no. What I just did like a quick Google search on it. Triggering implies that you have some kind of problem that is being turned on, but so activating is more positive in language. So if you have a trigger, that's now considered to be problematic.
I see. So triggering became too triggering.
Yes.
And I suppose the word trigger also like invokes imagery of guns, and we can't have that.
Oh yes, that maybe it's gun normalization too. The normalization of violence. Maybe that's what it is. Fuck.
Yes,
Okay.
We
Okay,
canceled hashtag.
Yes, keep going.
Made, but not a thought exercise necessarily.
Let's
Would
go
you
back
like-
a bit.
Pretty activating and upsetting not knowing the context. We thought it was sort of a statement that was being made, but not a thought exercise necessarily.
Would you like to see how the game is played?
No. I think we understand
Is it something
that.
that
Yeah.
Do you wanna participate in the conversation? No, we don't. We're just gonna be completely closed-minded here. We're just gonna get in your way because why the fuck not? God.
Well,
Man.
from their perspective, he doesn't. They think he doesn't have like good intentions, and I guess
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
'Cause I
they think he's probably here to disrupt some shit.
I
And
think they talk about his intentions later in the videos. Let's see.
be a game, though?
An exercise? You want to
Oh, wait,
use the
yeah.
non?
Okay.
No. I think we
Is
understand
it something
that.
that
Yeah.
should be a game, though?
An exercise?
This person here is saying, should this question be a game? The implication is like, is this a game to you? I don't know. I mean, Lilith, you are personally closer to this than me. Should there be some kind of intellectual exercise around the question, are there more than two genders, or however it was he worded it?
well, it's not the question of should is. I guess you could ask,
Are there? Yeah.
why are you doing the intellectual exercise? For
Oh,
what
well, I
purpose?
mean, I think it's because he does street epistemology. He gets to the bottom of why people believe what they believe. That
Well,
seems
there-
reasonable.
Why did he pick that topic, and for what reasons? I think that's worth going into. Does he
Oh.
believe? Does he have sympathies for one position or the other? And that's and-
Wait, look.
yeah.
The way you worded
What?
that, you're just like, Does he have sympathies for
No, it's just
for the Jews in our Reich? And
I said sympathies for one position or the other.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But like, I mean, I think on some level he's doing it because it's a provocative question that gets clicks and will make a good YouTube video and make him some
Well,
money and some exposure, and that's fine.
Well, yeah,
you know?
I don't think their reaction is outside of the ordinary when the question itself he knows would be provocative for some people,
Mhm.
especially during a college campus setting.
Possibly, but I do think that we're not going to participate in your game. We're going to prevent other people from participating in it. That might be a bit far, 'cause that's now stifling what he's doing here. But let's see where they go with it, though.
You want to use you want to use defund the police as one?
Well, just thinking about what it looks like.
Yeah.
What does it look like
To
to
the
see
whole
like
community.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white men with a sign that says there's only
Hey, wait, what does whiteness have to do with this?
Hmm.
Like, so he's like, what does it look like when you got 5 white guys talking about gender stuff? It's like, what does it matter that they're white? If they were black men, would it be more acceptable to you?
Yeah. What if there were a bunch of like black Hebrew Israelites?
Yeah, that would actually be worse. That would actually be worse. But yeah, like, oh, I hate the intersectional framework. Fuck it. It's so like brain rotting. Even if you could like pick out certain bits of it that might actually have some value, it turns people into fucking soy boys like this. Where like they think that you're white. That's like a criticism.
Not Twitter. You can't just point out somebody's Caucasian and win arguments.
That's I think like you should back it up just slightly because you're pausing a fair amount. Let's see.
No.
That's too much.
looks like.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
What does it
To
look
to
like?
see like
Community.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white men with a sign that says there's only 2 genders. You could have been like the Westboro Baptist Church for all.
What is white? Why did you identify?
Let's say that he is the Westboro Baptist Church. Like, is that a problem? I mean, it's still free speech, right? mean-
Yeah, but people from Westboro Baptist Church are there for disruptive reasons. It is still free speech, but like there's like it's for example like a bunch of Satanists like going outside of a church and just start harassing people and just like
Well, yeah, but like one, if they're outside the church,
I think people from the church would be reason to ask them why they're there.
yeah, but I mean, like, if they're on public property, they can do that, and secondly,
Yeah, they are. They
Um,
can.
this
But
guy's not
I'm just
harassing
saying
anyone.
peop-
Yeah, he's
I'm not saying he is.
right, but he's not harassing anyone. So like, they're harassing him. In fact, like he obviously has permission to be there by the school. So like they're approaching him and trying to get him to stop. He's not harassing anybody. If people walk by and don't want to participate in his game, they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to.
Yeah.
Like if he has permission from the school to be there and set up the lines and everything, then he obviously has every right to be there.
I mean, if it's a public space, they have even more right. But this is like a university campus, so it's not necessarily public. But still, the reason that these shows can do this is because the universities let them do it. So
Yes.
okay, let's roll.
Us on the basis of our race.
Well, are you the best people to be hosting that dialogue about?
No, but you.
Be representative of that community.
Okay, but I asked you a question. Why did you identify me
Wait, hold
and
on.
these people on the basis
Somebody
of
says it's a public space, so if they have the right to be there. Yes, obviously. I'm
Yeah.
not denying that. But
Yeah.
people also have the right to question why they're there.
Sure, but not necessarily like prevent them from doing what they're doing, which is what's happening right now. Like they could counter protest across the way. That would be fine.
Well, they can counter protest and
Yeah.
stuff.
But this is like now they're interfering, which is a bit of a different thing. But yeah, this person in the back here said that like something along the. We'll listen to it again just real quick.
People to be hosting that.
How many times do we gotta go
dialogue?
back, Dev?
Sorry.
Come on.
you.
Be representative of that community.
Okay, but I asked
Yeah.
you a question.
You need a representative of that community. Man, do you need to have like a trans person present to talk about trans issues, or can you just have that conversation in good faith, even if you don't have one around?
I think it would help. Like, it would be a bit weird to discuss the rights of black people in just like a room full, like, say, non-black people,
I
and
don't. I don't
just
know
like,
about that. I mean, if you're all acting in good faith and you're all reasonable, I don't see why it would matter.
yeah, but what if a person comes in with the express, like, intention to convince people that we shouldn't reinstitute slavery, that type of stuff.
Yeah, but
It's
I
happened.
think if you're reasonable, you can kind of like you can be like, oh, I don't need a black person in the room to tell me that the guy over there saying to reinstitute slavery is wrong. I can figure that out on my own, you know?
Yeah, I'm just saying that if we're discussing the rights of people, it helps if
Mm.
they're in the room and then conversation.
Okay,
Like,
Lilith,
there's like,
you are now my token trans friend.
haven't I already been one?
People actually call you that, even though that's not the case. But yeah.
That's what I mean. People have called me that, even though I disagree with you constantly.
hmm Um, but yeah, I've definitely I think you've moved more towards the intersectional position over the years I've known you, and I've moved more away from it. I'm very much now like, if you're acting in good faith, you don't need like a representative. You can reason this out. You know, I could be on a panel of men
You can
talking
reason
about.
it out, but but I just feel it's a bit weird when it's like when it's a panel full of just let's say one people from one group on TV just discussing the rights of a different group. It's just like, okay, how does it affect you ultimately that much? You're not the person that's in target here.
Yeah, but do you need to be personally affected to be able to have an opinion or be able to care, or to be able to logically think through it?
You don't need to be that person to care, but like you can argue it affects different people to a different degree.
Okay, but like, let me see if I can. Let's say that there was a panel talking about abortion, and it's all men, right? And you got some
Mm-hmm.
pro-choice people on there and some or some pro-life people on there. Um, what are there any arguments that like a pro-life woman would make that sorry, a pro-choice woman would make that a pro-choice man wouldn't?
Well, pro-choice woman would probably know more about her own anatomy and would probably have more insights on that type of
I
stuff.
I don't know about you, Lilith, but I'm very familiar with the female anatomy.
I'm sure.
But still, you know what I mean, though. Like, I'm like I understand the point if like if you've experienced a thing and therefore you can give a unique idea of a thing, but that's not necessarily an intersectional view because this is going to sound a little bit strange, but I think it's true. Just being black doesn't mean that you've experienced racism. You may have experienced racism because you're black, but it's also conceivable that you haven't. You could be a woman who's never had an abortion, and so you wouldn't know what to say about what it's like to have an abortion. So it's not that the group identity isn't important. It's the experience that's important, and those things aren't always congruent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, if
I
I
I was just saying I can see both sides of this argument.
okay, no, fair enough. Like, if I don't know, if we met a trans woman who, by some miracle, has never experienced transphobia, their point of view on transphobia might be more limited than yours, for example.
I might tell them to go out more if actually.
Touch grass. Okay, let's roll. Let's keep going. Here we go.
Yes.
Question, why did you identify me and these people on the basis of their race?
What it looks like, right? Kind of like the activating, triggering aspect of it all.
Activating.
So you think that it's morally acceptable to identify people on the basis of their race?
It's not a moral question. It's a matter of like the fact
It's
that
just
those
about
identities
power and
already
privilege.
exist.
Yeah, and identity and representation, right?
Well,
So
hold
if you
on.
have
Those are all moral prescriptions. The power and the privilege, and it's like it's not about a moral statement. It's like, but it's about power and privilege and representation. But like, when you talk about saying, well, we need to understand who has the power and privilege here, so we need to understand who gets to speak before you, and who's represented in this conversation. Those are all moral prescriptions. You know, it's a moral claim to say you don't have a trans person here to talk about this, so you need one. That's a moral. I just feel like these people they've absorbed words in a textbook without actually knowing what the concepts are, and they're just like regurgitating them.
I could see that.
Cultural Marxist drones in the chat. I'm gonna have to do a video on cultural Marxism at some point. God. Every time I watch like anything, I get like 5 video ideas. My brain, my almonds are
Pause every
activating.
2 seconds, Dev.
Oh, sorry. Do you not want to?
I don't like having to pause every 2 seconds.
But we're supposed to take 8 hours to do this.
We're how many in, and we're just still like 3 minutes into the video.
I know.
Ridiculous.
I'm just raging internally, and I have to let it out. Okay.
You're getting activated, Dev.
Yes, I am. Okay, I'll try. If you insist, I'll try to pause less. Okay. Okay.
Nah, it's okay. You can pause. You could pause, but it's just like I just feel like at the rate we're going, this
Yes.
is never going to be over.
Well, I mean, you've seen like EFAP or Adam and Sitch, right? They go for like 12 hours. One day, you and I will do a 12-hour show. It's the EFAP training, Lilith. One day, at some point, you'll be invited on EFAP or something, and you'll have to do the huge fucking show. It's okay. You can play video games
12-hour
during
streams on a 10-minute video.
it. You can play video games during those. I played them during when I was on there. Okay, let's watch the video. Okay, sorry, we're going.
queer folks out here asking those kinds of questions, and there was.
Well, how do you know we're not queer?
That's true. I don't know, but there's not sort of a representative, holistic, inclusive feeling, especially from up on high. We're looking down and we see this statement being made. We're curious about it.
Up on
We're also
high?
just worried about the harm being done to passersby.
What is
See
the
that
harm?
statement.
So there are
What's
people
the
who
harm?
people who went home because it was so
Yeah,
triggering and
we had
activating.
some students.
So I
had
think
to leave.
the end result is
You know you're on film, right?
that is totally fine.
Okay.
There are real
Okay.
people who are really hurt by the statement. So I
What were they hurt about?
question that because that's not how they identify, and so it
I'm gonna
seems
pause a
like a really
little bit in
triggering
a
statement to just say
minute.
there are 2 genders if that's not been your experience. So it's very harmful and very hurtful, and there's human lives that were affected. So I think that's the message we're trying to send is to maybe consider the questions that you're asking or posing before you begin your thought experiment.
Okay, hold on. Okay, we just watched like a minute. I can pause now. Okay, give me a second. Lilith,
All right.
if you saw a sign that said there are 2 genders, would you be triggered? Would you be activated enough to have to skip your classes that day and go home?
Nah. I think it'd be a bit weird. Like I think somebody was probably starting some shit, but I wouldn't be so activated. Can't say triggered. So as to need to go home. I think most trans people are less are not as fragile as these people try to make them out to be. But
where is this weakness coming from? And like the whole harm principle here. Like this is gonna sound strange, and this is probably another longer topic that we can't get into right now. But I'm like,
I mean, just how would you react if somebody showed up like saying like Canadians are scum or something provocative, try to get you riled up? It's just like
I'd probably be like,
you
yeah.
you just be like, yeah, okay, and then you move on.
Mm-hmm. I'd be like, yes, Canadians are scum. Just, I don't know, like, God damn it. It's just.
But you get my point, though.
I do
right?
get your point.
It's
Yeah,
like,
like it's like wow, that's
you
kind
don't
of strange.
spend all day letting it ruin your day.
Yeah, You know, like I know, like you have, without going into detail, you've told me about real life transphobia that was actually transphobia that you've experienced, and from what I could tell, you know, it bothered you, but you didn't like go home and curl into a shell and cry for the next 3 days. You know, like you
It's like, what a weird person, and then you move on.
exactly, yeah. Um, I'm gonna have to do a video on the problem with looking at everything through the lens of harm as well, because there are worse things in the world than harm. You know, that's also another video topic. Okay, let's go. Let's roll. Also, just 15 seconds earlier. I'm not going to rewind it. One of these, she's off camera, but what the person said, we were looking at you from up on high, and I'm like, damn, that just sounds like, you know, we were up in the tower and we were looking at you plebs down here, saying your silly free speech, and we came down here to put a stop. And it's like, all right, dude, okay, all right, let's go.
Yeah, watch how you phrase things.
Are you curious about like what we're bringing to you at all, or do you have?
I'm thinking about. I'm extremely curious, and I'm extremely respectful. I genuinely respect the fact that you came, as opposed to 7 or 8 of you giving me the middle finger and saying "fuck you" to me. So yeah, so if,
What do you gain from this? Like, what is your reason that you just want to cause trouble, or like
YouTube money, baby.
So I'm fascinated. I
get
do
that
street
revenue.
epistemology,
Mhm.
and I'm fascinated if the people. Epistemology is from the Greek, basically how you know what you think. Okay, so street epistemology is taking it out of the university and bringing it into the street. So I'm very curious. Okay, a sidewalk or
Is this a street? I think it's fine. I
okay,
think
if
it's
you don't
fine.
like the word street, you can call it plaza epistemology, whatever. But the idea is you take it out of the university and you see if the reasons that people have for things justify their confidence in it. So this is a confidence scale. We can do this with any claim you want. We can do this with a mayor of the city. We can do this with should the United States be funding Ukraine? I think it's $800 billion. Should the United States, is it more important to control inflation or employment? And we put people on a spectrum. They start on, let me.
We should be funding them $900 billion.
Should we?
No, 10.
Wait. Lilith is coming out right now as being pro Azov Battalion.
Not pro Azov. Just more pro kicking Russia out. But hey, we're gonna. But yes, let's go. Keep going.
But Lilith, don't you know that all good libertarians are completely against all state intervention at all times? So we can't help the Ukrainians?
I guess we can't help the Taiwanese either, or anybody else, because and let Xi Jinping and Putin roll over everything.
Yep. All right, let's go.
And it's I don't know why libertarians insist so hard on sounding like cucks on this department. It's sad.
I think the TLDR of it is they know their ideas won't work without a purge of progressivism out of Western culture, and so they're willing to tolerate authoritarian strongmen if that makes the culture more homogenous, because with a homogenous culture you have high trust. With high trust you can have libertarian ideals eventually. So I think they're mostly just becoming accelerationists, which is fucking insane.
And supporting authoritarian despots in the process. Like,
Yep.
Yikes.
Yep.
But yes.
Let's go.
Just explain it. So you asked, so I'll tell you. So what am I to do?
I think what we're just saying is and I think those questions are thought-provoking and important questions to ask
I think
folks in our community.
this
I think
one is
what
the
we
professor,
were
the blue-
struck
the blue-
by
the,
was the
jean jacket
statement
one.
on the board that it wasn't a
that.
question and that there was no
Oh.
context clues for folks, especially trans folks, to know that this was not your belief,
What-
but this was more of a thought experiment.
Okay.
Okay, so their problem seems to be that it says it's not the card says there are two genders, but not like there are two genders. Like it's not a question. Okay, so that seems to be the complaint. Okay, I mean I can kind of see it if I was going to really be good faith to them. I can see where they're coming from. Okay.
They were
Would you be
saying
more
they're.
sorry.
comfortable?
I believe there. If he had said, I believe there are two genders, or something like that, or
Yeah.
change my mind, or
Mhm.
even that. I mean, the way Crowder puts it. I mean, Crowder is imperfect, and I have plenty of criticisms for him, but like the way he puts it, it's a bit more welcoming, I think.
Yeah, he says
Oh.
there are two genders, change my mind. So like, it invites someone to come talk, right? It's not
Yeah.
like a sign that just says there are two genders. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
That like going back to the Holocaust thing. Imagine if he showed up with like the Holocaust didn't happen. People would get activated.
To be fair, I still think like you could do the Holocaust didn't happen, change my mind, and you're still gonna get people activated on that one.
You would. You absolutely would. But then then you're saying the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
But yes.
Questions to ask folks in our community. I think what we were struck by was the statement on the board that it wasn't a question and that there was no context clues for folks, especially trans folks, to know that this was not your belief, but this is more of a thought experiment.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a good point on their part.
Yep.
Like it's rather confrontational.
Would you be more comfortable if it was a question? Like if I put a question mark,
Sure.
okay, I'm more than happy to put a question at
A
the
question
end.
is a question and not
Oh,
a
there we go.
statement,
More than happy to.
Some type of warning or a statement of like what you're doing on another board so people can walk by and like try and understand that. Because from afar it looks,
This is a thought experiment.
Yeah.
This is
what we're asking people.
I'm
So they
more
want
than
the trigger
happy to
warning,
do
the
that.
activation
That
warning.
way
Okay.
It can kind of
I'm more than happy to do that. I only have one board, but I'm more than happy to put on this is a thought experiment and put a question mark. If I put a question mark, I could. I don't know. I'm worried that people wouldn't be able to see it, but I'm more than happy to. If I put a question mark at the end and then I put another one, it's not really. It is a thought experiment, but it's more of an exercise / game starts thought experiment. If I put that on the end, would all of the concern vaporize?
No, probably not, because we're talking about real humans with their lived experience and their positionality,
but-
their identities, you know?
Hold
and
on.
Sort of,
They just gave him a prescription. And he's like, okay, if I do that, will you guys be okay with it? They're like, no. Well, what do you want
Well, he
then?
says would all your concerns vaporize.
Well, yeah, but so what else is
that's
there?
that. Well, what's your intentions for asking that question? Like, what are you supporting?
I don't think that matters when it comes to like a public display like this.
I think it matters a lot. I think like if somebody was like a Nazi and then they were asking questions, I think it matters a lot who they are
Okay, but
and what they're supporting.
sure, yeah, but if they're not being violent, like, okay, let's say that you have like,
Well, they're
okay, hold on.
nobody's
Let
being
me
talking
outline
about
this.
violence. They're talking about like intentions and stuff.
Yeah, but if the intention is just to talk, it's fine. Like here, let me outline this. Let's say you have the Nazi version of Steven Crowder, okay? Nazi Steven Crowder. He shows up. Adolf Crowder, okay, his long lost brother. Adolf Crowder shows up wearing his Nazi gear, and he unfolds his table, and he says, "The Holocaust didn't happen. Change my mind." And he sits there, and there's no violence, but he's just doing the thing where people come up and talk to him.
But people can have an issue with him doing that, though.
Yeah, but they would be wrong, in my opinion, because it is just
Would they
speech.
be?
Yes.
Would they be
Yes.
wrong
Yes.
having an issue with people spouting speech they disagree with? People, it is still their free speech to react to it, though.
It is, but not to interfere. It's not free speech when you start getting in the way and like breaking it up. Now it becomes violent. Now you're being aggressive. I will just take the stance right now. If you have a non-violent Nazi, you can think he's stupid, but you should not censor him.
I don't think he should be censored, but I don't think talking with him and asking him why he's doing that is censoring him.
Okay, true. So in this case, if he just said, "I'm doing it because I'm making a video. Now either participate or please leave me alone," and they didn't leave him alone, at that point, who's in the wrong?
Well, would they be like legally obliged to do that. It is, after all, the streets, and they're entitled to be there just the same, unless they've like reserved a space.
I'm not sure because he does have permission to be on campus. You know, if a university says you can come on campus and do your thing, but also that's like a legal question. We're talking like so legally they probably can, but morally should they? Morally should they interfere?
Morally, I think they should be able to voice their own free speech.
At the expense of his, though?
Well, is his speech at the expense of them? I mean, they could probably argue that.
How?
Well, like they're having a discussion, right? Is he saying he hasn't been? I don't think he's told them to leave him alone yet.
No, he hasn't. We haven't gotten that far in the video yet. But like, let's say that he says, "Okay, I appreciate the conversation. I'm gonna keep doing my thing here with people." I
can only go off of what I've got.
Oh no, I understand. I understand. Yeah. We're just talking hypotheticals at this point. Like, he's engaging with them, so they are having this talk. But let's just say hypothetically, he decides to disengage, and he says, "I want to talk to the people now." When they come up, and they decide not to leave, and they prevent him from talking to those people.
I think that would be disruptive, and a case could be called for like calling the cops and letting them sort out what's going on.
Possibly. But in just terms of morals, I think that the crowd would be in the wrong, not him, even if you find his opinions distasteful. You know, this is like the whole
because right now they're just speaking their own free speech against him.
Absolutely,
his own free speech.
Yeah.
And I think so far they're fine.
So
even if you might disagree with them.
Like, do you recall, a few years ago when you had like Milo or somebody like Sargon show up to a university to give a talk, and people were protesting outside the talk, and that's fine because they can protest, but then they would try to get into the room and protest in the room and shut down the talk, and even if they were legally allowed to do that, morally it seemed pretty reprehensible because now they're shutting down other people's speech.
I think they should be able to shout and do talk on their own terms, but if they're shutting down, then they're trying to prevent free speech, and I disagree with that.
Yeah, okay. So we are ultimately on the same page, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's continue.
I might have a very different personal feeling walking by because it doesn't target my identity specifically. So we're just sort of here to sort of advocate and elevate who might be harmed by a statement like
What do you mean by harmed?
Harmed?
Yeah.
Well, people who have been historically and currently oppressed, right, by dominant systems, patriarchy, whiteness, masculinity, all of the systems that harm people who don't fit within those sort of more rigid.
That's why you want a question and not a statement.
Can I also ask,
Now, I just want an answer. That's why you want a question, not a statement?
I think a question is an invitation, right?
More than happy to make it a question.
Participate in this conversation.
More than happy to do that.
You're representing, with your identity, a belief, perhaps especially when it's a statement. And so what it looks like is you're out here saying there are two genders, and then anyone who doesn't fall within those two sort of binary boxes.
I'm more than happy to do that.
That's where the harm comes from.
More than happy to say this is a thought experiment. No, let me just finish.
Great.
More than happy to do that. But it seems that if I did that, that would not be enough.
You might have.
But then I
might not be the person to, again, I think asking folks who hold those identities, sort of, if that is enough. So asking queer students, asking.
Okay, there we go. Lilith, you hold one of these identities. Is that enough?
In regards to?
Yeah. So would it be enough for him to say to put a question mark on that and make it more of like an open statement and say, come talk to me if you want, but this is not like a statement I'm actually saying? Would that be enough to not harm you?
I think it'd make it less provocative.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with this statement that simply posing a question would be harmful.
Yeah.
So
I don't think so either. I don't agree with that. Let's see. Let's go on.
Trans students asking gay students, if you're asking about race or poverty or religion, or people who are part of those groups can really inform you better than I can.
You wanted to say, I wanted to hear her through.
No, I get it. And I'm just wondering, like, are any of you all, like, trained professionals in trauma-informed care? Like, if a transgender individual were to come to the space and participate, and then there was a triggering response where they needed emotional support, like, are you ready to support that? Because this conversation can bring up a lot of emotions, and the people that are...
I gotta jump in real quick. In order to do a Steven Crowder like change my mind situation, do you think that you should have to bring along like a trained psychologist or something? Like that seems kind of ridiculous to me. I don't know how you feel about it.
I feel like it's another like case of like a well-intentioned like cisgender person like making trans people out to be like, oh no, what are they expect is gonna happen? Are they gonna faint?
I don't know, dude. Look at this guy in the background just walking through. He's just like looking. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? I gotta get to my class. Fuck this. I remember being on university. Like, okay, watching videos like this makes me want to go back to university sometimes, because I remember things like this, but it was not nearly this radical when I was there. I kind of just want to go back and stir up shit. I'd pay money for that. Actually, no, I wouldn't. Fuck that.
Kind of working within it could be really triggered, but if no one's there as like an advocate or support, it could be pretty detrimental to the community you're asking. So I just want to like frame that. If you're not having like an advocate there as someone that can like be an emotional support or regulation for the people that are potentially harmed or triggered in this conversation, whether they're participating or not, like that's a potential thing to think about and could be a flaw in the system, because you need to have someone to be able to support that emotionally, mentally, and for people's trauma. So if you're not, it's kind of like these people might leave and feel like without any support or any understanding of what they just went through. So
yeah,
just to think that.
And we know people who are in the gender minority experience higher rates of suicidal ideation, higher rates of anxiety and depression, and like they're seeing messages like this all throughout their lives. And so campus is supposed to be a safe space where everyone can exist freely in their own identities and who they are and be learning and be talking about.
Oh my God.
Really,
okay,
really...
so she was actually correct. You know, about the higher rates of suicide, the higher rates of depression, the higher rates of like there's a bunch of things that come along with this stuff. So she was completely correct. And then she said that campus is supposed to be a safe space. This goes all the way back to like when who was it? That one professor got yelled at by the student. She's like, campus is supposed to be a safe space, and the professor's like, I don't agree. And then she's like, why the fuck are you here then? And like he ended up getting drummed out, and now he does videos like this. This was back in like 2017 or 2016. Fuck, what was his name? What was his name? I can't remember it. He's been on Joe Rogan a few times. He spoke to Jordan Peterson. He's like in that crowd. I don't remember his name. Shit. It doesn't matter, I guess. But what do you think of that, Lilith? That campus is supposed to be a safe space?
I don't necessarily agree with the statement campus should be a safe space. I think campus is usually a place where people go to get challenged for their opinions.
Yes.
Her point about trans people seeing this shit all the time and being very tired, though, is poignant because we do see this shit all the time and it's not entertaining, it's not fun, it's not insightful, it's just really boring.
Yeah.
It's probably why it's only cis people confronting him right now, and trans people are usually like, don't want anything to do with this.
No, fair enough. Well, would you have talked to him if you had seen this walking by?
I probably wouldn't minded my own business. In all honesty, I don't really have time for people trying to make content, and really, unless they're paying me, I don't really want to be other people's content.
Well, hold on. You did the TubCast for free for a little bit, or back before it was the TubCast. But yeah, like you did that. Now you're getting paid because there's more money in it. But like...
I did it for free for a very, very long time. But that's because I'm your friend, and I enjoy.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't know this guy. If he was, if I just saw him randomly asking questions, I probably wouldn't engage personally.
So here's the thing. A safe space, as far as I understand it, like everyone's like, oh, everyone's a safe space. Like the people on the right, even people in the center, they shit on safe spaces. But safe spaces, they have their purpose, and they're not universally bad. A safe space is basically a place where you can be who you are unchallenged. That doesn't necessarily mean in terms of gender, though it definitely includes gender. But like, for example, if you're a rape victim, there is a time and a place for you to have your status as a rape victim questioned. And that would be during, say, a police investigation. They have to have evidence. They have to make sure they don't get the wrong guy. They have to make sure you're not just making it up because you hate this guy or something. So in that space, it must explicitly not be safe because they have to get to the truth of the matter. But that being said, there is a reasonable safe space for rape victims where they don't have to be challenged or questioned or doubted. They can simply be cared for as they're recovering. So I think part of the recovery process of a trauma, part of it includes getting out of the safe space and confronting what happened to you, but part of it also includes being in the safe space and healing. So there are legitimate places in life where there should be safe spaces. Maybe your home is one of them. Maybe a trauma center or like a psychiatrist office or something. These are places where you might actually expect there to be safe spaces. But a university seems to be, in my opinion, the complete opposite of a safe space. Because at university, you're supposed to be exploring new ideas and you're supposed to be learning. And that is completely incongruent with the idea of a safe space. Because if you're exploring new ideas, maybe you'll be butting up against something that you find uncomfortable because it's a new idea, right? Exploration of something new, it can be exciting and fun and interesting, but it can also be possibly even traumatizing, or definitely uncomfortable. You can't say that the classroom is a safe space. Meanwhile, in the history class, they're showing off graphic depictions of the Holocaust because they're studying it. That classroom can't be a safe space. But the good faith inquiry requires that it not be a safe space. Does this make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we disagree.
All right, good. Okay. I was just ranting a little bit. But yeah, like it seems like maybe like your dormitory can be a safe space, but not necessarily the entirety of the campus, Okay. So let's roll.
Important things within our culture and society. And by walking through this community member that we care about that should be in class today, learning about how to take care of their community and how to support marginalized individuals like themselves and others can't participate today because they saw that message. Yeah. And that's what we mean by harm. Yeah. And honestly, I don't even think adding a question mark is enough. I think it should be more of what is your perspective on gender identity? Because then you're opening up the question, or gender in general, right? Because we know that it's not just about identity, it's about who that person is. And by really
identity is who that person is. Oh my fucking.
Can I put in like my 2 cents as a non-binary person?
Please, yes.
Cool. I am gender non-conforming. I use they them pronouns. Do you know what that means?
I believe so, yes.
Are you aware of like the theory
Okay,
of
hold
social
on. I have to be a bit spicy here, okay?
All right. Yeah.
What about this person is gender non-conforming?
I suppose the way they dress, they don't dress particularly masculine or feminine, I guess.
Yeah, but that's like just normal tomboy stuff.
Well, it's up to them to define that. I feel like they don't have to necessarily present in a certain way to be gender non-conforming.
Well, then what is gender non-conforming if it's not presenting in a certain way?
Well, it's all relative, isn't it, though?
Well,
are you saying she has to have a buzz cut for you to see her as a gender non-conforming, or?
I don't know if she has to, but
Does she need to dress like a stereotypical Tumblr, like
maybe
non-binary person?
I'm trying to think about it. Possibly. I don't know what it is, but I'm not feeling it when I look at her right now. I just seem like a regular. I just see like a regular college-aged woman. That is what my intuition tells me when I look at this person.
Oh, that's fine. That's not the way she identifies, though. I don't think she has to prove herself necessarily.
No, but I think if she wants other people to view her that way, then she has to prove herself. She can view herself that way.
I don't think she's wanting other people to view her that way. She's just telling people she didn't get offended when she wasn't like offended, like, did you just assume my gender, that type of stuff. No. She just very frankly told other people she's gender nonconforming. I think that's fine.
True. She hasn't demanded anything yet. That's true. But yeah, like, I know for most people,
or she
like,
or they,
for
depending on what they go with.
For most people, gender's like an intuition, right? So, your random person will to use two very public examples, your random person who knows nothing about trans stuff will look at Blair White and say that's a girl, and will look at someone like Jessica Yaniv and say that's a guy. Now you can disagree with that, but that's how most people who are disengaged from the culture war, that's generally how they think about it.
Well, that's perception.
Yes, but perception I think is part of the conversation, though.
It is a part of the conversation, but I don't think it's the entirety. I don't think it makes or breaks a person's identity.
But I guess so. I had an experience, or actually several experiences, when I was in university. This was during the 2000s. The 2000s, guys. There was a minority of women, but enough that people took notice, that were political lesbians. And so what political lesbians are, for those of you who don't know, they've kind of fallen out of style. Political lesbians are women who weren't actually lesbian, but they would sleep with other women because they thought it was a political statement to do so. And of course
those people.
Yeah, they're on campus. They're going to these very lefty gender studies courses or sociology courses or whatever the case may be, and they're kind of being radicalized. So they do this as part of their praxis, right? And in fact, I had one legitimately lesbian friend who took advantage of the situation for a while. So I guess it wasn't all bad for some people. But a lot of these women, after they left school, they kind of just became straight women again, because the lesbianism was never actually a part of them. It was just kind of imposed by a culture and an environment, and it made them feel special. And I feel like there's a lot of people that I know you disagree with me on this, and we have our disagreement, and that's fine. But the people that I would derisively call trenders, who aren't actually trans, but they want to claim that moral righteousness of being trans in kind of the same way as the political lesbians from my era in school. And when I see someone like this, that's what I see. I don't see a trans person. I see somebody who knows that this is the environment they're in. This is what they're doing. This is and you know what? In 10 years or so, they're probably not going to be like this.
I mean, it really depends, I suppose.
Oh, sure. Like, I'm sure some of them they're like, oh, I actually am this, you know? But some of them, I'm pretty sure most of them, I'm pretty sure most political lesbians from back in the day aren't still lesbians, you know?
So you're saying people who identify as something in between will grow out of it? Sometimes.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
I'm sure sometimes they can.
Mm-hmm. Let's just give me a second here. Okay.
Cool. I'm gender nonconforming. I use they, them pronouns. Do you know what that means?
I believe so, yes.
Are you aware of like the theory of social constructionism?
Yes.
So
I'm a gender studies scholar.
Yeah. So I'm much younger than you. These are all, this is all very new. I understand. Like my parents
She's
are
talking
boomers,
to him
they're
like
in their 60s. They've had a really hard time understanding. God. So I've had to explain this to a lot of people in your generation. So you're aware of social constructionism. You're aware of gender
it's just a theory.
as a social construct. When you say there are only two genders, those two genders are just social constructs that we made up. From birth, you were assigned a male at birth because you have a penis, I'm assuming. You present as male. Do you identify as male?
Are you asking if I identify as male?
Your gender.
I identify as male.
Because you were assigned a male at birth. Are you cis?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you're going with this. I'm trying to understand where you're going.
The idea of there being only two genders is a social construct because we have this idea of being assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth. Now, I'm non-binary. That's something that I have learned about myself over the last 6-7 years. After I was a teenager, I learned about sociology. I learned about gender as a social construct. And I realized that I don't fit into the box of just a cis woman.
Wait. Hold on. Did you catch that?
I don't see what's wrong.
Teenager, I was assigned male at birth. Now, I'm non-binary. That's something that I have learned about myself over the last 6-7 years. After I was a teenager, I learned about sociology. I learned about gender as a social construct.
Okay, this is the conservative argument for grooming. Yes, she said. She was like, "Listen, I was a kid. I was a girl. It was all fine. I started taking these sociology classes. I learned about being that gender was a social construct, and now I'm non-binary." And it's like, wait, are you saying that are you saying that going to school with this stuff is
I don't think that's grooming, Dev.
No,
grooming
hold on. No.
Fucking doing something with specific sexual, usually, and like, she just learned it, and
okay,
I feel like that's a big stretch.
Okay, I don't think it's grooming either, because the grooming is a very, very strong word, but the logic of conservatives is that that people will be turned trans or turned non-binary or turned whatever through a certain type of education, and they use grooming because that implies a sexual thing that might not be there, and in my opinion it's mostly not there, but the underlying implication is that if they're taught about this a certain way, they will come out of the system being non-binary. And she just said that's what happened to her. She went through these sociology classes and she's like, "I'm non-binary now, guys, tee-hee." And it's like that sounds like actual indoctrination the way she described it.
From the way she described it, sounds like she learned stuff and learned that gender is a social construct, and through that she was able to come to terms with her identity. I don't think that's grooming.
No,
I think there's
grooming's not the
like
right word. Yeah, grooming's not the right word.
Like, are you saying like the social contagion thing was like just simply learning about it can turn you into it? I think that
sounds like what she's saying, you know? Here, let me put it this way. You knew that you had some kind of problem that you couldn't identify before you knew what being trans was, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the case with actual trans people, is that they might not have the language to describe what's going on with them, but they feel like something is deeply wrong with them as they start to get older and they start hitting puberty, and they're like, this isn't right, this isn't who I should be. But that's not what she said. She said that she became non-binary after she learned about the concept, not before.
Well, you'd have to know what it is to be something, usually.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe she's just really, she could be just poorly wording it wrong, but the way that she worded it, it sounded very much like I became this thing after I learned what it was, not I was able to identify something that I've always been with new knowledge. Because those are two different statements.
Okay.
It's just, I'm not a conservative on this topic, but I keep seeing progressive people make conservative arguments, and it sometimes just blows my brain away.
Some idiot's trying to call me Larry.
Wait, Larry's not even your dead name.
Go fuck yourself. Fucking idiot.
Larry? Jesus. Oh God. Yeah, that's pretty
Oh
fucking
no, I'm
stupid.
so offended.
That's pretty stupid. Hold on. We don't have. I like Tidge. Tidge is usually pretty smart and usually pretty accurate. We don't have the whole context of her upbringing, but she doesn't imply that she felt different before learning about it. Okay, we won't dwell too much on this, but let's just.
That I have learned about myself over the last 6-7 years. After I was a teenager, I learned about sociology. I learned about gender as a social construct, and I realized that I don't fit into the box of just a cis woman. Okay, my gender is completely whatever I feel like in the moment. I'm not just one solid thing.
Okay, so yeah, that. I mean, it could be the case.
She feels like, or
go on.
they discovered who they are through.
Maybe.
Because
I mean,
they felt like they never felt like truly a woman.
She doesn't say never in that. She says like, here's the thing. She could be wording it exceptionally poorly. That could be the case. It could be the case. This is something that she's always known, and she now has the language to describe it, and she just words the story very, very poorly. But the way she says it, it sounds like she only became this thing after learning about it. She's like, I learned about this after the last 7 or 8 years, and now I'm and it's like, okay, dude, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that she could actually be this thing, but I just in terms of like in terms of just rolling the dice based on what she said, it sounds like this actually might have been a case of social contagion. God damn it. Here's the thing, Lilith. People like you're clearly not a social contagion case. And
people might make the argument though. I did learn about trans people on Wikipedia.
That's true. I guess who knows in the end. But
I wouldn't say I have always felt this way, and like I don't. But like I had to learn it from somewhere, and if I didn't have the word for it, then I would have just always felt something was wrong without having the word for it.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's the difference. Like I think right now there's people on the left who are saying social contagion doesn't exist, and I don't believe that. But I do think there is a very clear and very important difference between people who maybe are victims of social contagion, they're just going through a phase and then they're going to get out of it, and people who actually have had this problem for their entire lives. I think those are clearly two different things. And here's the thing, like I'm not against someone who takes hormones to like cross-dress better or something, or to be more of a trap. You know, hey Tidge, how's it going in there? You know, like I'm not against this kind of stuff, but I just think that they're different than what trans people are. They can still do it. Like if a guy wants to take hormones to look better and to like look more girly, it's like, yeah, go ahead, man. Like it's your business. But I think it's something fundamentally different on the inside than being a trans woman.
Yes, cis people are not trans.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be a femboy and not be trans.
Tidge is like, I'm not on HRT. Listen, Tidge, I've seen your thighs. There's no way those are natural thighs. I don't believe in the slightest. Okay, let's keep going.
Sexuality, gender, these are all social constructs that we've created within our society, our binary society, where we've decided there's only male or female. So many people don't fit into that. And like, why do you feel like you're a man? Because you've been socialized to believe these things are associated with being a man. These things are associated with being a woman. There's only 2 boxes. But you don't have to conform.
Okay, this will be a short pause. Don't worry, guys. Why do you feel like you're being man? Why do you feel like you're a man? Because you've been socialized to be one. Do you believe that stuff, Lilith?
For most people, I don't think they even question it. Like,
well,
and there is like socialization for being who you are. Like, you remember growing up being like, if you cry, you'd be told like boys don't cry, and boys need to be this, boys need to be that.
Okay, well,
I mean, there's
maybe so,
all
but,
sorts of conditioning happening on.
Yeah, but the natural end result of that line of logic is that you could have been socialized as a man. and that would have solved all your problems. But that's not true, obviously.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
of course, people who are not men, socializing them as men would just like not help
No, but-
them all that much.
No, I understand what you mean, but like the point that she's making is that socialization is what makes gender. But I know, you grew up as a boy and you had a pretty bad time of it despite your socialization. So there was something there other than being socialized that was a component of your gender that was rebelling against the socialization. So I don't think that gender is purely a social construct.
I do buy into the brain sex theory with like transgender people having different brain chemistry.
Yeah, more like female-like brains. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's probably the case.
Because it's not outside the realm of possibility for me to imagine like there being like a boost of estrogen while I'm inside as a baby.
Yeah.
While development and causing me to develop in certain ways.
Yes, I agree.
There's like biological, but also mostly social.
Are you sure it's
components
mostly
to-
social? I don't know.
I think it's like probably like 80% social and like
Really?
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not convinced. Because I think if it was 80% social, then socialization could take you a long way from wanting to transition. I think it's a lot more biological than we give it credit for.
Maybe. Like
But-
I said, it's just my personal opinion.
But here's the thing. My biological view doesn't mean, like, therefore, every male has to be a man and it's all biological. No, I don't mean like that. I mean, like, there is probably something that is biological underlying the cause of gender dysphoria that causes you to want to transition. And that biological reality of the condition is what makes you a woman. I think that's what's going on here. I think it's immutable, basically. I think it's immutable. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I know, John Money. I know what's going on with. Yes, I understand.
He also didn't invent gender, by the way. That's just like straight up propaganda.
Yeah, he just fucked around with some kids and destroyed their lives.
He predates him for a very long time. But
Yeah. All right, let's go.
To that. That's just what society has told you from birth. A doctor said, this person has a penis. I'm going to assume that they have to be a man and fit into this box their whole life. But why? That's just.
I would love to hear other voices if you wanted to say something.
Engaging in this debate feels useful.
Do you feel that this is a debate?
That's your response? When you say, I want to hear from everyone else.
No, I do want to.
I didn't actually care to hear what you
No, I listened and I'm processing. Would you like me to engage her?
I want to hear
You want to hear from him?
Actually, no, I want to hear from her.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
I actually don't want to hear.
I just
Actually,
want to
I
make
think-
sure. So
hold on,
this
hold
is
on.
what I want. I don't want.
So, let me just. I'll pause it on the right frame.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
I actually don't want to hear.
I think this guy was in our chat earlier, his cameraman, because he was like, "Yeah, I'm the one who like edited this," and I think it was like his face on the little avatar. I wonder if he's still here, but he's just like, "Yeah, I was okay, whatever." That's kind of neat though.
I just want to make sure. So this is what I want. I don't want the reason that I'm more than happy to engage you. The reason that I said that is you have how many people here? 15, I'm guessing. No, but no, let me finish. The reason I said that is because I don't want you to walk away and someone to say, you didn't give me a chance to talk. So I didn't give her a chance to talk before, but that's only because I was listening to what you were going to say. And I realized that the classes here aren't a lot of time. And the reason that I switched from what she had, and I'm more than happy to listen to her, is because I don't want people. It's
They just told you their pronouns and their lived experience.
okay. Then okay. So instead of getting
Experience of someone that doesn't conform to what I.
okay, so this individual
God.
just told me that, and I'm trying to be
Hold on.
reasonable. And
Yeah, so I guess they actually did go after him for the misgendering there in the end. That's something you mentioned a few minutes ago. Or she's like, you didn't call me they. And it's like, all right, sorry. Oops. Okay. I gotta be honest. I find they sometimes hard to use because I'm not used to it. I don't mind doing it, but the neo pronouns I kind of find cringe, and I'm not gonna do that shit. But I don't mind doing he, she, or they. It's just
Yeah, I feel like if a person identifies as they, there shouldn't be an issue using it. Sometimes even I have to use the consciously use it, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's not a common thing even now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to have a conversation than for you guys to give me the finger and yell, fuck you. So you wanted to say something, go ahead.
It's already been you.
Aren't you the guy that made a bunch of academic data and submitted
to address that she did, like just address you just called this person a
Okay.
and they just told you their gender was
Okay, well, I apologize and I say they.
That's the harm being done that we were talking about.
Do you accept my apology? Okay.
It's the generation. It's a generational,
Yeah.
education. If you
Okay, so.
Oh God.
change and learn, that's great.
Okay, hold on.
I love that, and I
Very
accept your
quickly.
apology.
I mean, I don't think she's
oops,
like the
sorry.
trigger type.
No, she didn't. She
But
didn't
they-
actually get triggered. Like they got
So
triggered
I don't
for
think
her.
I don't think they're the trigger type.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other people got triggered for them.
Yes, that's what happened. Yeah. However, this is generational education. Like you can get off that high horse, in my opinion. This guy, he is a professor, and he does know about gender studies stuff. He knows what you're talking about. This doesn't need to be. You're not talking to your boomer dad who doesn't get any of it. You know, like this is a different situation. And I feel like this person doesn't quite know what's going on in that sense. All right.
Generational, education. If you
Okay.
Generational education.
and want
Jesus.
to change and learn, that's great. I love that, and I accept your apology.
So isn't it better to have a conversation about this than to scream at someone from the rooftop?
Oh, I don't know who. I certainly didn't scream at you from the rooftop. Did any of you guys scream?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So you guys were screaming and yelling "fuck you" to me and giving me the finger.
We were just saying, please go away, you're not welcome.
No, I said fuck you.
Okay. Okay. So
Well, he owns up to it.
Yep.
My goal is to disrupt this.
No.
I don't want any more harm to
My
So-
goal is to disrupt
Okay,
this.
so
Okay,
I
buddy.
understand that you believe. I can't remember where that over there she moved, but I understand that you believe this stuff, and we live in a democracy, and other people don't have those beliefs, and I want to ask people if the reasons they have for their beliefs are justified, and this is that experiment.
And your thought experiment, we actually have to go. We're not part of the thought experiment. We're all social workers, and we saw this harm being done, and we just wanted to come here with curiosity.
Oh, God, where's the
and
fucking
also
harm?
Some information.
And do you feel that you've spoken? Do you feel
It
that
feels like-
anybody,
it feels
if
like we're back
anybody
in
else has something to
2016,
say
guys.
that you haven't had an opportunity to speak?
Do you feel like you've learned anything or taken?
But that doesn't answer my question. I just asked if anybody else would like to speak. If you'd
Yeah,
like
see,
to speak,
they're
I'm
here to
standing here.
educate, not to actually have a discussion.
Okay.
But I think to
Have you
Joel's
learned
point,
anything
we
from
hope
this?
that
It's
this
like,
was
have
informative
you?
and helpful. And sorry if saying "fuck you" hurt your feelings. And
No, it didn't hurt my feelings.
but I'm glad because our student who was hurt, we're worried about them and potentially many others. And so that's why we came down to talk to you, just because we have a personal connection.
Well, I'm glad. Isn't it better to have a conversation with someone than to?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what the whole
But it's not
enterprise should be about?
It's not safe for everybody to have that conversation.
Sometimes it's hard to just have a simple
not safe.
conversation.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing it like every fucking day of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
This is something we're fighting for and advocating for, and this is our job and what we care about, what we're passionate about. So sometimes it's hard to keep all those emotions in when we see someone that we care about being harmed.
And do you think that the best
feel like
way
this video's
for
giving me a
people to
headache.
understand?
God damn it.
What is the best way for people to understand your point of view?
This right now, showing up.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, what?
Well, they're having conversation.
advocating.
Yeah?
Getting for-
Yeah, they're actually having it. Yeah.
That actually is the best way to have like a dialogue.
You know, but I guess it's true. Like these are better than the people say at Berkeley who burnt down a campus. If you remember that, like 5 years ago or whatever it was. Like that was ridiculous. These people are actually here having the conversation. They're not necessarily attacking him verbally. They're not attacking him physically, which is good. But they're having the conversation, but like they're clearly coming at this from the point of view of, we're not here to listen to your point of view. we're here because we think that we're just a priori correct, and we're going to try to get you to. Well, one person in the back said, "I want you to leave. I want you to get out of here." It's like, well, that's not going to happen. That's kind of an unrealistic expectation. But yeah. But it's true. Having the conversation is better than the alternative, so that's good at least.
Yeah, it's better than just staying up high and pointing a middle finger.
Yeah, or
these people are actually having discussions.
Yeah, some places they'll try to break into the lecture hall where these people are talking. They'll pull fire alarms. They'll call bomb threats. That's ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah, as for the Berkeley thing, I remember that with that's where the famous liberals get the bullet too thing was spray painted.
Yep.
People that may feel like they don't have a voice.
Okay, so the people who watch this, because this is being videoed, do you think that the people who watch this, who don't agree with you, as a result of having watched this, will then agree with you?
I'm not asking them to agree with me.
But don't you want to facilitate social change?
I'm asking you to have a different perspective to understand where we're coming from, because we're trying. We came down here to try to understand where you're coming from.
Did you?
I don't think that anyone.
Did you really though?
To decide if this is.
Okay, but you have to please be honest with me. Is that really why you came down, to understand?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. We were very.
Okay, and what is your understanding of why I'm doing this?
You guys care about how you're.
It's not impact.
What, I'm sorry, I haven't heard from you. What is it?
Hold on.
I just want to tell you, we don't care about your thought experiment. We care about.
Wait, she just said that they're there to understand, and now they're like, we don't care.
Yeah, seems contradictory.
Yeah. All right. It's my first live TubCast. Hey, buddy.
The impact that it's having on.
Okay, so you didn't come down to understand why I'm doing this then.
We came down here to tell you what you're doing is harming others.
Right, so you didn't come down to understand. That's why I asked you to please be honest.
I really, truly do want to understand why this even exists.
Because we didn't want to know how your game works doesn't mean we weren't coming down here to say.
So what is it that you understand for why I'm doing this? If you said you came down to understand why am I doing this? But this is, you've made a claim. You've made a claim. Right. This is what?
Maybe you'll watch the video and have some.
What do you think the result of people watching this video will going to be?
What is your intent? What is the impact it's having?
That's all we're
What
asking.
harm is being done?
No harm is being done. Fuck. And there we go. That's the end of the video.
I see.
So yeah, level 1 of my view on this. That was a blast from the past. I haven't seen anything like that since the peak of the SJW owned compilation days, or the peak of Louder with Crowder. Or sorry, Change My Mind with Crowder. That was just kind of. It made me feel like we were back in 2016 or 2017. You know what I mean?
I feel like these people in campuses need to learn how to talk to people better, I suppose. I get a lot where a lot of them were coming from. He did come there with a fairly provocative statement, and people got provoked. It's kind of it's like poking a nest and being surprised it got stung a little bit. What they've the way they phrased things and the way that they were confrontational with him, especially since that one guy was just actively just trying to disrupt it without knowing what it is. It does come across like the 2016, SJW being triggered.
Yeah. Kiranoth says it's only prerogative if you're brainwashed with far left gender ideology, Lilith. I mean, I kind of get the point. I can kind of see I don't completely agree, but if you were to say to someone 30 years ago there are two genders, no one would disagree, right? You'd be like, yeah. It wouldn't be a controversial statement. So like, you could make the claim that society has changed to the point that that is now a controversial statement when for most of human history it was not one. So I kind of get what he's saying. Okay, there's a before we could actually, you know what? We have a bunch of super chats to read, and we can also discuss the video a bit more if you like. But first, I'm gonna go to the washroom. So Lilith, you talk.
Will go to...
You
don't make me talk.
Nope.
I'm gonna go to the washroom.
No, you can't do it at the same time. You have to both. Someone has to be here. You can't just leave the stream on.
All right.
Okay, here. I'll go, then you go. Okay. So you talk to them for a bit, and I'll be back.
All right. So yes, that was the video. I hope you're all doing well for the most part. I saw some of you being really butthurt in the chat. I hope you stay mad. But hey, those of you who can civilly disagree, you're cool. It's been a while since I saw one of those debate me sort of stuff. Those sort of fell a favor with me because, like, not that fun watching people just scream at one another. I mean, it's fun watching for a little bit, but then it gets pretty old. Any dark secret about Dev2 gossip? Well, did you guys know that he is Canadian? I know, it's very scandalous. Can't believe somebody would do that. But it's true. Drop the N-word while he's off. No. No. There you go. There's the N-word. Dev is maple pill, especially on guns.
I'm back.
He doesn't like guns as much as Americans do.
I'm back.
But he recognizes. But you recognize that guns are necessary, right, Dev?
Yes. Yes, I do. I do. Okay, Lilith, you want to go to the washroom yourself now, and then we'll continue?
Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
Okay. Make sure to mute yourself. There we go. So, how's it going, chat? I know everyone says, like, oh no, Lilith's turning into a lefty, Lilith's turning into an SJW. I do know that in terms of just general politics, Lilith has shifted from being a very hardcore libertarian to being more of a soft libertarian. That's okay. I also do know that she has an ideological blind spot when it comes to trans issues, which I completely understand, and because I'm pretty sure that if I were trans, I would also probably have a blind spot there too. You know, if it's close to your heart, you're less likely to be objective. I don't blame anyone for that. That is just the name of the game. So I get it. But despite that, her and I, we still have very, very good, very spirited conversations, both on and off stream, about trans stuff. We have our disagreements, and yet we're still friends. So you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I feel like I could tell Lilith a opinion about a trans topic that she would disagree with, and it wouldn't end our friendship. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But yeah, I think everyone has something. Like, man, there are so many people out there on the right who are like, yes, pure free speech. We should be able to say whatever we want. Let's make all the racial jokes, and then as soon as someone calls them a cracker, they're like, how fucking dare you? Do you not understand? It's like, everyone has something, you know? Everyone has something. So I don't blame anyone for their biases. It's actually completely natural to have biases. Except me, of course. I am, in fact, a completely objective, pure, logical-brained, rationality giga-chad. I have no biases. Of course. And you know what? Same with people in the $5 club in my Discord. All those people, it's a community of pure giga-chads.
And hello, I'm back.
Welcome back. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Let's read the supers before we get into any kind of serious, in-depth discussion, if we decide to have one on this situation. Let's see what the super chats say. I would totally be... Wait, you want me to call out the JQ, what, the Jewish question? Do you want me to give you my honest-to-God, real opinion take on the Jewish question? That's actually really easy. Yes, Jews are overrepresented in positions of influence. That's not because there's a secret cabal of Jews who run the world, but it's because Jewish culture generally prides excellence in hard work. And you do that over several generations, you get people who are generally good at doing things. There's no protocol of the Elders of Zion here, guys. It's just a cultural difference.
Yeah, as for me, my position's pretty similar. Like, yeah, there are Jews in power, but then again, there's lots of, like, Irish people in power, too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the chart of, like, the secret cabal of Irish people?
That's what Lucky Charms is all about, guys. It's indoctrination.
Yes, it's representation making us accept the Irish.
Monsuko, I find it funny that you met a lesbian Giga Chad who banged all the political lesbians. Well, we were actually good friends for a while, and she did some stuff on this channel, like, way back in the day. This channel's been around since 2009, guys. We've gone through several, like, reinventions. There was anime reviews on here. There was video game stuff. Politics came around after Gamergate. But pre-Gamergate, we were all living in the same house, and she was part of the channel for a bit. There's, like, old videos of, like, the three of us hanging out. Let's see here. Satoshi was a reptiloid for 50 kroner. Thank you. A Norwegian TV program 10 years ago titled Brainwash that looked into gender didn't even mention more than one gender. It's pretty recent. Wow. There's actually only one gender. Okay. All right. No Rhythm for $2. Love from MTL. Keep it up, SFO. Thank you. Neko Boy Official for $5. Rose of Dawn made a great video about non-binary. The TLDR is, it's a useless term because there's no prerequisite. Anyone can be it for any reason. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's... You have to be non-binary to be non-binary.
Well, yeah,
personally.
But now we're getting into the philosophy question, right? Because if you're categorizing something, the whole point of creating a category is that there are things in the category and things not in the category. So, if a category exists where its only descriptor is that you're part of it, what use is the category? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not non-binary, for example. Like, I identify as a woman, or more specifically a transgender woman.
Well, I assume you identify as a woman, not a trans woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question then is, like, what quality do you lack that a non-binary person would have? Like, what differentiates you?
Well, if I don't particularly identify it one way or another, I guess that would make me non-binary. Like, if tomorrow I say, like, oh, actually, I'm sometimes fine being a man, which I'm not. But if I were to say that I am, then maybe I would be, like, non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably...
I know...
prerequisite.
Yeah, see, I know that you know that I already disagree with the self-ID view of trans stuff. Like I think you and I have talked about that privately quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's why I want to bring Katie Montgomery back at some point, because she knows a lot more about self ID than I do.
I wouldn't mind it. I mean, the first conversation was very friendly, but now I kind of know.
And I
like,
think you
what
could
we
probably
disagree
debate with her on that.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, the first conversation was very friendly, and I'm happy to have friendly first conversations. But now that I kind of know what we disagree on now, so we could probably have like a decent talk, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like my problem with the self ID view is like, I mean, there's no other quality that works that way. And in fact, if you examine it, it can't really work that way. Like there was that one there was that one philosophy professor who debated Vosh, and he gave this example, right? And I think it's actually a pretty decent example. So it's like, I have a desk full of items, and on my desk I have a blarg. And well, what's a blarg? Well, the only quality that a blarg has is that it's a blarg. But I've told you no information. I can't. Now it's like, Lilith, go find the blarg on my desk. Well, what is it? Well, it's a blarg. Well, what does that mean? Well, it has the quality of being a blarg. But that doesn't allow you to find it, you know? You can't identify it. You can't look at it and say, oh, that's it, obviously. Right? So, a quality where the only thing that makes it a quality is that you have it seems to be a quality that just doesn't it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. If that makes sense.
I don't want to have to play the what is the chair thing, but
here's the thing though. Like I know so like this is like the turf argument is like, what is a chair? And the turf always says, well, it's a seat, you sit on it and it has four legs and has a back, and it's like, well, that could be a horse, right? It's like, well,
yeah, the horse a chair.
Yes. Yeah, is a horse a chair? The answer is obviously no. But what's going on there actually is that there is some other quality that horses have that chairs don't. So, for example, we could say that is a trash can a chair? It's like, well, no, you don't sit on a trash can. It doesn't have four legs. Like, there is some quality that we're appealing to when we see a chair, even if that quality might overlap with other things. That just means that there's other qualities we haven't taken into account yet, right? So, even though we can identify things that have similar qualities, they have legs and a back, and you sit on them. That doesn't mean that we can't identify chairs, because we can definitely identify non-chairs. Like, my house isn't a chair, and the car isn't a chair, and my broom isn't a chair. The knife in the kitchen isn't a chair. Like, there are many things we can identify as not being chairs, even though there's some overlap there, right? So, I think I'm not sure if the chair argument is as strong as some trans activists believe that it is.
I just feel like, at the end of the day, gender is not that hard to understand. Like, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And if the duck tells you it's not a duck, then well, maybe just like,
See,
okay.
Yeah, see...
Why does it affect you?
Well, see, this is the thing. That's the intuitive view, right, that I mentioned earlier. Like, your average person who knows nothing about trans people or any trans issue will say that Blair White is a woman and that Jessica Yaniv isn't. That's the intuitive view. Like, it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know?
That's the social aspect of gender.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas if we're talking about identity, then it's something entirely different. Then it's like something that's more innate, I think. For example, like that non-binary person we saw today, like they don't particularly present themselves in a non-binary fashion as you would expect, like picture your head like a Steven Universe character with pink hair and shaved sides, and it's just like, there's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to look like that to be non-binary.
True, but here's the thing: the reason that I didn't necessarily accept that person as non-binary is because intuitively I didn't see any non-binariness in them. Which sounds strange, but like.
Well, what do they need to do then?
I don't know. I know it when I see it, but I couldn't word it to you necessarily. It's something here. Like the problem with self ID is like, I don't think we would accept this for anything else. Like if I here I'll use the most obvious like example. You get Talcum X, okay? He self IDs as black, but he's white. You know, and it's like, well, we don't accept that. We find him to be ridiculous because he like there's a difference between being a thing and identifying as a thing. Those are two different things. You can be something and not identify as it, but you can also not be something and identify as it. You know what I mean? But if for gender, the only quality of being a gender is identifying as it, then it becomes like a useless. It becomes a useless thing.
That's the thing. I don't think it's the only quality. I think gender is a combination between the social aspect as well as the biological aspect that we associate with it.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I think I probably think that too. But that means though that if you lack the social aspect and you only have the biological aspect, or vice versa, do you count? What if you have neither of them? You know? Like what if you so let's say that a person says, I'm a woman.
And I guess they would be agender or not binary, maybe.
Like let's say a person says, I'm a woman, but they're biologically male and they experience no dysphoria and they don't even present as a woman. So there's no biology there and there's no social aspect there. What makes them a woman? Like what quality do they have?
Well, guess it would be up to them.
Would it?
Do they identify as a woman?
Well, I don't think it matters. Because we're talking about being, not identifying.
Well, identifying is part of being.
People are saying that Lilith feels bullied. Do you feel bullied? You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I'm just kind of like going off the cuff here.
No, I don't feel bullied.
Okay.
I'm just having a discussion.
Okay, yeah.
Like I said, I'm not a freaking professor on this.
You're not seeing a discussion and you're like, I have to go home, I'm triggered, I need to now get like a slip so I can skip class for 2 weeks.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like,
hey, if I could skip class for 2 weeks and still get credit, then sure.
Man, it's maybe it's something like, hold on. Can you think of any other part of a person's personality that would work in this way, where simply identifying as a thing makes you that thing? Because it doesn't work with race, obviously. That's the
artist would be one.
So like, you're an artist if you just think you're an artist?
Well, usually an artist has to do some things that pertains to art, but like art is inherently subjective. And
well, yeah,
anything could be art.
True. But if you're an artist who produces no art, who doesn't do any of the things, are you really an artist?
You would be a lazy artist.
Okay. So
plenty of artists don't produce their
yeah, okay, fair enough.
Most artists don't.
If that's the case, could we say that like the trans women who do nothing but identify, they're just lazy women?
I guess you could say that.
like they are lazy in their womanness.
You could say that.
I mean, that might actually work. It's like, yeah, they're women,
or they're
but
just reppers. They're just like repressors.
I think repressors are a different thing, though. I think repressors actually have gender dysphoria. They're just like trying to ignore it. They're like, nope.
Oh yeah. I thought I would imagine in your case that they had gender dysphoria, but I guess not.
Well, no, yeah. See, I'm describing someone who has no gender dysphoria. They just identify as it.
Oh, somebody with no gender dysphoria and they just identify it as, and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
I guess that could call the suspect, like, because, like, at what point are you actually trans if you're not gonna do anything? I mean, I'm not gonna tell them they can't be that way.
I think I will.
But I feel like
I'll say that. I'll say no, you're not trans. If you're not doing anything, you're not feeling anything. You're just using the label. Yeah, you're not trans. No, I will.
Somebody asked the what are repressors. It's like somebody who is trans, but they present themselves as cisgender or as the gender associated with their birth.
Yeah. They have dysphoria, but they're like, I don't want
Yes.
to deal with this. I'm just gonna fucking pretend like I don't have it. I'm gonna ignore it. We're gonna ignore the elephant in the
feel
room.
like
Yeah.
they feel like, oh, it's too late. It's too late to transition, and hormones won't and surgeries won't help me at this point, and they just continue living as like the gender they don't like, but there's nothing else they could do.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm sure for some it probably is like that. Like if you're 6'6" and you're jacked because you went on a lifting arc and you still have gender dysphoria, it's like, yeah, you're pretty fucked. Like there's no way out of that.
I've
Kind of
seen,
sucks.
but you might think that, but I've seen like some really impressive transitions, like Giga Chads turn into Stacy's.
Giga Chads. Maybe. I haven't seen any Giga Chads successfully turn into Giga Stacy's, but it's possible.
I would have to
guess.
show you. I would have
Okay.
to find those transition timelines and show you.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. But yeah, like I've been thinking about the self-ID view because it's like you can't self-ID as a race. You can't self-ID as a member of a class. You know, you can't self-ID as a member of an ethnicity. You can't self-ID as a member of a job. Like you like when it comes to like profession, you can fake it till you make it. That's a little bit different though. Like you're like,
Well,
yes,
you could self-ID as a goth, or self-ID as like a
as a goth,
as like a like
oh,
or
like the
self-ID,
subculture. Yeah. Okay.
the subculture, like, or
Okay.
self-ID as like a rocker or
Well,
that type of stuff.
if you self-ID
That-
as a goth, but you don't actually wear any of the goth clothes or like hang out in any goth location or like listen to any goth music or anything, like, are you really one?
You could be then you'd probably get called a poser.
Maybe that's it. Maybe trans women who do nothing but identify, maybe they're posers. They're poser women.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, think about it. Remember the whole thing? The whole thing during Gamergate was about fake gamer girls. Girls who identified as gamers but didn't actually play any video games, didn't know any video games, didn't care about video games. Fake gamer girls. We accepted that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point, I'm going to have to do the video, Are Trans Women? And I'll give you guys the sneak peek. Okay? So, and I'm not going to give you my whole logic. I'll give you just a nugget of logic from it. Okay, so the word identify. Identify is associate someone or something closely with, or regard someone or something as having strong links with. Okay? So, both of these definitions imply choice. You know, if you're associating, you're choosing to associate. If you're regarding, you're choosing to regard. So, embedded in the word identify is this idea that you can choose to identify, which I don't think is accurate. Like Lilith, you can't choose to identify as a man, can you?
No.
Right. So, fuck. Yes. So I think a better word for what we're talking about is affinity. Because the word affinity, definition, is a spontaneous or natural liking or sympathy for someone or something. So spontaneous and natural implies that you can't control it, that this is just a part of you. So I think identifying as a gender is not enough. You must have an affinity for that gender. And that is going to be the foundation that I lay to construct in the video a new idea of gender that includes trans women with dysphoria, but does not include the transgenders.
Interesting.
I remember showing the idea to Taftaj, and she said it was a good idea, but it might take some explaining. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. And I showed it to Frida as well, and she thought it was a good idea. So, perhaps there's something here. Perhaps. Hold on. When it comes to belief, choice is absolute. That's not true at all. Okay, Cookies for Days. He says, I am 100% certain that Lilith can choose to identify as a man. When it comes to belief, choice is absolute. Okay, I want you here, dude. I want you to choose to believe that gravity doesn't exist and then walk off the cliff. Because if you truly believe it, you'll do it, no problem, right? I don't think you can choose what you believe. I think what you believe is kind of just a product of your personality and what you've been exposed to. I don't think you can choose to stop believing in something that you believe, you know? Like, I can't choose to believe in God right now. I don't believe in him.
Yeah. It's like... I mean, I could probably say I identify as a man as a joke, but it wouldn't be sincere. And Aspiring Devil said, I gotta leave and work in the garden. Lilith has been great this stream. I look forward to the screeching in the comments section. Thanks. Me too. And good luck on your garden.
My garden is only doing so. I might have a new garden video for you guys. Okay, here, let's see. $10 from Cryptic, thank you. YouTube censored me, but for making fun of my demented leader by name. Ah, well, here's some cash. Thank you very much. Let's see. $2 for Munchausen syndrome. That was in reference to the non-binary person in that video. Munchausen, that is... Okay, right. You know what Munchausen syndrome is?
No, what's that?
That is a psychological disorder where someone pretends to be ill or deliberately produces symptoms of illness in themselves. Their intention is to assume a sick role so that people can care for them and they're the center of attention. I assume that he's saying that the person who says that they're trans but isn't actually trans has some form of Munchausen syndrome. It's maybe. It's possible.
I could see that.
Yeah. Wolf's Pain for $5. Campuses should be the opposite of a safe space. How does one grow if you aren't challenged on your ideas? Respectful, but challenging. I agree with that, actually. Yeah. Lady Columbia, $5 again. Thank you very much. You've donated a lot today. If the modern online libertarians are going to think that forced purges of people will make their homes homogenous, they will have infighting. Yeah. That is the difference between, like, the dude weed Lamau libertarians and then, like, the actual, like, Rothbardian libertarians. Where the guys that go from more center libertarian positions to, like, Hop and Rothbard, they're like, well, how do we make our society? You need a high trust society. Well, let's just get rid of all the people who aren't like us. It's like, all right. Okay, dude, that sounds like a terrible idea. That is the libertarian to Nazi pipeline, by the way. Or at least no, libertarian to... Yeah, no, it'd be Nazi. Libertarian to Nazi pipeline is through Rothbard.
Or at the very least, fascist. I don't like that either. Like, oh, to achieve this perfect libertarian society, we first have to be authoritarian. Well, it sounds awfully like the communists.
Yeah. That's what ends up happening to all the libertarian socialists too. They're like, well, eventually we gotta impose our commie bullshit on people. It's like, no, you don't. Maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, why can't you just have your little co-ops?
Yeah.
On the side, because it's like, oh, we have to make them all co-ops. Well, fuck off.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, guys. When it comes to economics, Lilith is not a leftoid. Don't worry. At least not completely.
I believe there should be social programs, but
You're a communist.
Hey, I'm not a communist.
I know what you mean.
How dare you?
Let's see, what's next? $5 from Oversized Trash Panda. The problem with lived experience is that it leads to biased and self-serving perspectives, even if the person has more knowledge than a layman. Yeah, this is the difference between, like, the collective aggregate opinion of a large number of people versus the opinion of an expert who probably knows more but has been in the trenches for too long to be objective, you know? That's actually, I remember having that discussion during my critical theory class in university. You know, like, an objective view can lack some information that comes from having experienced a thing, but having experienced a thing may make you too emotional to be objective. So sometimes you need both. You need both points of view. Lady Columbia, again, thank you. Nope, actually, we already read that one. That was the Too Many Kids one that we didn't agree with. Okay. That is all the supers for now. I'll give it one last refresh just in case. Okay, there we go. So, video idea, Dev, all utopias are hell. Maybe. All utopias are hell. That's true. Okay, so...
All attempts at utopia usually leads to dystopia.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so that's the end of the video. That's the end of the Super Chats. Is there any more that we would like to say about the video that we just watched today and took an hour and a half to watch like a 20-minute video?
I would say that if you're part of the lefty opinion, don't appear like a trigger liberal. It's because, like, it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
And, it's probably better to have discussions and, like, you don't have to be their content. You could, but, like, trying to shut down discussions doesn't really help anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, I think if you're going to have these discussions, you have to come in with more stuff in the barrel than just, I think you're problematic. Because that might feel really good to say, and some minority of people might agree with you when they hear it, but it's not actually an argument. Not to just overquote Stefan Molyneux, but it's not an argument. It's just not an argument. You know, you need something more than that. Like, I think you're racist. Okay, I don't care about your moral condemnation of me, but you have to have a reply to what I've actually said. You know what I mean?
No, you.
Wait, hold on. The only way the far neoliberal left maintains power is just censorship and deplatforming? Dude, I don't think neoliberals far left. Neoliberals and socialists, they don't like each other, dude. I'm just reading the chat here. I'm reading the chat. Wait, Japan banned gay marriage recently? That's no good. I don't like the now we're coming for gay marriage thing. I don't like that. No,
I think they reaffirmed that it's constitutional to ban gay marriage.
In Japan?
I think there was, a while back they were saying that it's not constitutional to ban gay marriage. But I think they've gone back on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's right now in Asia only Taiwan has legalized gay marriage.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. Japan gay marriage. Osaka court rules that ban on same-sex marriage is constitutional. Well, here's the thing. This applies to pretty much everywhere. Constitutional doesn't necessarily mean correct. It just means, does the Constitution allow for this thing, you know? They could always change their Constitution to allow for it.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what they're not making new law. They're judging by the standard of existing law. So you had three. We read all your super chats, Lady Columbia. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. We read all the super chats, guys. Yeah, we read all the super chats. Yeah. Don't they have huge birth decline, though? Do you think that banning gay marriage is going to get those birth rates up? There's no fucking way it's going to have any, like, if you're gay, it's not like, oh, shit, I can't get married. Guess I'm going to go and fuck a woman now and get her pregnant. Like, that's not how it works, man.
Yeah, like, oh, I guess I can't fuck pussy no more. I'm gonna find myself some pussy and have babies, and then birth rates get solved. That's looks deep into the camera. Have kids.
They're gonna make a second season of Darling in the Franxx to make people have kids.
Do you wish you have kids now?
That was
How
a great
about
meme.
now?
That was a great meme. I mean, like, wait, way to be basic light switch brain. What do you mean light switch brain, dude? God. I feel like sometimes you guys can't take any pushback from me. All right.
What do they even mean by that?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't think there's anything more to talk about on this, though. Like, I wouldn't mind necessarily engaging in some street epistemology, whether they're being, like, on the other side of that guy or... You know, I've always thought, like, if I had the money and I didn't live in the middle of a fucking igloo, I would do something like this. I would go to, like, a university campus and I would do, like, a... Let's do Change My Mind centrist edition, you know? Might be fun.
Maybe.
At the very least, it's more like honest conversations than people screaming at each other on like a Discord call, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be.
Maybe when I have more money. Donate to the channel, guys, and I'll do it. You know what we'll do? We'll take our hot tub on the road, and we'll go do this around North America. Why not?
Yes. Take out your wallet and give us your shekels.
I think that's pretty much all we have to say about this. Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next week for something else. Oh, we might have that guest. We got to figure that out. Surprise guest, guys.
Right.
Surprise. No, we're not telling it just yet. But maybe not. Maybe we'll do something else. Who knows?
Sure, we'll see.
Yeah. We will see you next time, guys. Have a good one.
Yep. Take care, guys.